Chapter 843. There's something I need to ask Caixia King. Can I talk to Caixia King alone? Xing Hui said. Of course. Caixia King said and waved to the people in the courtyard. You can leave. Caixia King obviously had a very high prestige in her family. With a wave of her hand, many people in the courtyard quickly retreated despite their curiosity. Only the girl named Xiaoying asked, Master, do you need me to wait on you? No need, you can leave. I need to entertain Mr. Dong Yang. You can go back. If there's anything you don't understand about cultivation, you can ask Yunxia. Yes, Master. Xiaoying responded obediently and quickly retreated. After Xiaoying left, Caixia King turned to Xing Hui. I don't know what Mr. Dong Yang wants to ask. To use the World Rainbow Bridge to go to the True Sun Great World, you need to know the coordinates of the True Sun Great World. I don't have the coordinates of the True Sun Great World. Since Caixia King has been to the True Sun Great World once, then, I don't want to trouble Caixia King. The coordinates of the True Sun Great World. This is not difficult. I can do it with a little calculation. Please wait a moment, Mr. Dong Yang. Xing Hui nodded. It was like the position of the stars was not fixed. Worlds also revolved around each other, but the frequency and orbit of the world's revolution were not as large as that of the stars. Moreover, there was a significant law, which made the calculation much easier. Of course, this ease was also relative to professionals. For Xing Hui, who didn't understand this kind of application information, learning to calculate the coordinates of the True Sun Great World from scratch would take at least 8 to 10 years. Of course, if he had the previous information of Caixia King as a reference, this time could be compressed to within a year. But anyway, with Caixia King here, he didn't have to waste time calculating by himself. Just as Caixia King was helping Xing Hui calculate the current coordinates of the True Sun Great World, her disciple Xiaoying was the first to find Captain Yunxia. Captain Yunxia, Master told me that if I have anything I don't understand about cultivation, I can ask you. But I remember that Master once told me that my cultivation is now at a critical stage, and I shouldn't be disturbed by too many external forces. She asked me to come to you for some other reason. On the way here, I have already speculated that this matter should be related to the guest named Dong Yang that Master is entertaining. Yunxia, who had been found by Xiaoying, felt a little strange, but when Xiaoying said the name Dong Yang, she suddenly focused. What did you say? The person who was visiting Caixia King was called Dong Yang. Is he a beardless, fair-skinned man who looks about 25 or 26 years old? Exactly. Dong Yang. Yuqing. It's actually him. He actually secretly came to visit His Highness. Yunxia's face changed slightly. His Highness asked you to come to me. Could it be that Dong Yang wants to harm His Highness? Xiaoying saw Yunxia's expression and couldn't help but ask solemnly, Captain, who is this Dong Yang? Dong Yang, Yunxia thought of the battle when Xing Hui captured Caixia King alive. In that battle, the combat power he showed was probably enough to defeat the Light King and a series of more than a dozen Boundary Realm experts. This is a supreme existence not inferior to the Heavenly Sword King. Speaking of this, she couldn't wait to say, with Caixia King alone, I'm afraid she can't do anything to Dong Yang. If she acts rashly and makes Dong Yang angry, it will endanger Caixia King's life. Her Highness Caixia King asked you to secretly pass this information to me. I'm afraid she wants us to ask for an audience with Her Majesty the Empress. There's no time to lose, let's go ask for an audience with Her Majesty the Empress. After that, she couldn't wait to take Xiaoying to the Imperial Palace. In fact, there was one thing she didn't mention to Xiaoying. That was, after Her Highness the Empress obtained the support of the Azure Dragon Sovereign to ascend to the throne, she had specially come to Caixia King to ask if Caixia King could locate Dong Yang through the Rainbow Bridge. This matter was very secretive. If it weren't for the fact that she was Caixia King's personal maid, she would never know. From this point of view, Her Highness the Empress should be looking for Dong Yang for something, and was quite anxious. If they told the Empress the news that Dong Yang was in the manor, they would be heavily rewarded. With this mentality, coupled with the identity of Rosy Cloud's king's personal maid, it took her nearly half an hour to pass the news to the Dragon Rain Empress. After her news was learned by the Dragon Rain Empress, she was directly summoned by the Empress without waiting for half a moment. From this detail, Yunxia fully understood the importance of Dongyang to Her Highness the Empress. She was also 80 to 90% sure of this merit. Very quickly, Yunxia had already been brought to Longyu. At this time, Longyu had completely refined the small world that was equivalent to the power of the Chaos Realm, and had completely mastered the power of the small world. As early as 40 years ago, she had relied on the power of the small world to fight the Celestial Sword King to a draw. Now that 60 years had passed, her understanding of the use of the small world's power had become more profound, and she was now known as the #1 powerhouse besides the Azure Dragon Sovereign. Facing Her Highness, who had both strength and status, Yunxia bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Your Highness the Empress. No need for formalities. I heard you have something to report to me. It is said to be related to Dongyang. Could it be that you have news of him? Or has he returned to our Kunlong world?" Longyu couldn't wait to ask. "Yes, Mr. Dongyang has returned to the Kunlong world and is now in Saixia King's manor. He's back, he's actually back." Longyu had been on the throne for 40 years, and for 40 years, she had ruled over the lives of hundreds of millions of people, driving one realm master after another to do things for her. Her mentality had long changed, and she was no longer as simple as before. The imperial family was the best place to temper one's character. If you'd really left, then so be it. But now you've returned to our Kunlong world. Is this because the heavens have sensed that I've been unable to break through to the Chaos Realm due to the limitations of the Chaos Realm, so they've sent you to me, someone who holds great secrets? It seems, this is destiny. Just like when I was chosen by Dongyang and followed Dragonthorn and the others back to the Kunlong world, and now I'm sitting on the throne of the Kunlong world. Everything is destiny." Longyu murmured to herself. In mere moments, her mentality had undergone a great change. "Saixia King, you've done a great service by providing this information. You will be rewarded when the time comes." "Thank you, Your Highness." Yunxia hurriedly bowed in thanks. Longyu waved a hand and said to the officials waiting outside the Great Hall, "Send a message to the God Might King. Activate the 10 absolute heavenly domain formation in the Imperial City and completely separate the space of the Imperial City to form an independent world. This will prevent anyone from using teleportation to escape. Summon Celestial Sword King, Radiant King, and Peony King to follow me to Saixia King's manor." "Yes, Your Highness." The herald who received the order immediately passed it down. Longyu personally walked down from her throne that was embedded with many top-notch gemstones. She casually took off her regal dragon robe and let it fall to the ground, revealing a golden female battle armor. Then, with a wave of her hand, a golden longsword appeared in her hand. This fully armed appearance made her look like a majestic female war god. Buzz buzz. As the layers of flowing light dissipated, the light that enveloped the entire Imperial City dissipated. The light seemed to be mixed with the power to cut through the void, directly cutting the Imperial City out of the Kunlong world. It then relied on the power of the laws of the Kunlong world to maintain its existence. It was just like the small universe-cutting technique that Xing Hui had encountered in the past. However, that small universe-cutting technique was released by a Tier 20 warship. Now, the God Might King relied on the powerful formation set up in the Imperial City to achieve this. When the space where the Imperial City was located was cut out of the Kunlong world, Xing Hui had already sensed it. Then, his gaze fell on Saixia King. "Are you not done yet? Please wait a little longer." Saixia King naturally also sensed the changes in the void outside, and sweat appeared on her white forehead. Obviously, this was because she was nervous. In the previous battle, Xing Hui had captured her alive, and it had left her with too much trauma. "You have the data of the transmission to the true sun world. Counting the time, it hasn't even been 100 years. Plus, you are the owner of the World Rainbow Bridge, so you should be very familiar with the calculation of the world's position. It has been more than an hour, and there is still no result. Xing Hui had a cold sneer on his face. I will give you 3 more breaths of time to tell me the coordinates of the true sun world. 3 breaths of time. This. Is it not enough? Then 2 breaths. Enough, enough. The coordinates of the true sun world are. Saixia King reported a number at an extremely fast speed. Almost at the same time as she reported this number, several figures appeared in the sky above Saixia King's manor. It was Sky Sword King, Peony King, and Radiant King who had received the order. Following the arrival of these 3 people, a beautiful figure with long flowing hair and golden armor appeared in the sky above the manor. It was the current ruler of the Kunlong world, the Empress of the Kunlong Empire, Long Yu. Seeing these people arrive, Saixia King, who was originally under great pressure, suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. All right, Dong Yang, now, you can't leave. The activation of the World Rainbow Bridge will take several hours. Before you activate the World Rainbow Bridge and leave, you should first answer Her Majesty's question. Question. Xing Hui withdrew his gaze from Saixia King and turned to the valiant Empress Long Yu in golden armor in the void, and said with a faint smile, Miss Long Yu, long time no see. Dong Yang, Long Yu looked again at Xing Hui with a familiar smile, and her expression was slightly complicated. After a while, she slowly replied, Young Master Dong Yang, long time no see. Chapter 844. Miss Long Yu, why have you mobilized such a large force? I wonder what advice do you have? Qing Su looked at Long Yu, who seemed valiant. Compared to before, both her bearing and confidence had undergone an overwhelming change. He was rather indifferent. Long Yu was silent for a while before she spoke. Young Master Dong Yang, there's one thing that I'd like to hear from you personally, even though I have some guesses. Did you already know that I'm related to the Kun Dragon world? Miss Long Yu, you're overthinking things. I'm not some omnipotent and omniscient being. How could I have known that you had another identity in the Kun Dragon world when I was in the True Sun world? In that case, please tell me, young Master Dong Yang. Did you follow me to the Kun Dragon world because you were worried about my safety, or did you have other motives? Xing Hui looked at the woman in front of him, who still had a gentle and pleasant aura. He naturally knew what she wanted to ask. You're just looking for a reason to convince yourself to attack me. Then, I'll give it to you. I did indeed have other motives when I followed you to the Kun Dragon world after learning of your identity. As for what they are, I'm sure you know. Although Long Yu had already guessed this, her expression still changed when she heard Xing Hui admit it with her own ears. After a long while, she sighed. I understand. The next moment, the complicated expression on her face disappeared completely. She gradually regained the bearing of a ruler, awe-inspiring and inviolable. In that case, young Master Dong Yang, hand over the things you obtained from the imperial treasury of the Kun Dragon Empire. Those supreme divine artifacts and other things, that's the right way to go about complimenting an empress style. The supreme divine artifacts are still here. As for the other things, I've already used them. What are you going to do about it? Long Yu looked at Xing Hui with a sharp gaze. On the side, the Heavenly Sword King, the Peony King, the Radiant King, and so on surrounded him slightly further, sealing off all of Qing Su's paths of retreat. Even the Godly Might King, who was in charge of the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formation, manifested a clone and said in a deep voice, Your Majesty, the formation has been fully activated. With this formation, we can probably block him from sensing the Chaos Temple for 100 breaths of time. Hence, if Your Majesty wants to make a decision, you'll have to make it quick. As the Godly Might King spoke, Xing Hui did split a bit of his consciousness to sense the Chaos Temple. It had to be mentioned that the 10 extremities heavenly domain formation did affect the senses of the Chaos Divine Hall by quite a lot. Qing Su sensed carefully, and he did indeed feel that his connection with the Chaos Divine Hall had become blurry. However, the God Might King and the others had overestimated the formation to say that he was unable to sense it at all. Qing Su estimated that if he concentrated his senses, he would be able to sense the Chaos Divine Hall's location again in a single breath at most. At that time, whether he wanted to escape with a technique of teleportation or engage in a battle would all depend on his mood. Good move. Xing Hui said sincerely. Even with the ancient Holy World fragment, he was unable to completely conceal his senses from the Chaos Shrine. However, the array before him was able to conceal his senses from the Chaos Shrine for a breath's time. This showed how extraordinary the array was. Long Yu looked at Xing Hui, who still didn't show any signs of fear. She didn't know if it was because she wasn't confident or because she still had feelings for Xing Hui. After a long silence, she finally said, "Hand over the supreme divine weapons and leave. The celestial yellow qi, celestial desolate qi, and true God origin liquid will be my reward for saving me from the self-seeking Taoist and protecting me for so many years. Leave." Xing Hui looked at Long Yu in surprise. Seeing this, God Might King hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, a man of great ambition shouldn't be bothered by trifles. If our guess is correct, Dong Yang must be hiding a great secret. If we can grasp this secret, it will be immeasurably beneficial for your Majesty to rule the Kun Dragon world and break through to the chaotic realm in the future. You can't let him go so easily." Clearly, God Might King had searched for information over the years and vaguely understood the reason why Dong Yang was still in the chaotic realm after being hit by the freezing spell for nearly 100 years. "I have my own plans. I don't need you to tell me what to do," Long Yu said coldly. Afterwards, he looked at Qing Su again and said, "Those Supreme God artifacts were specially forged by the ancestors of my clan according to the characteristics of our bloodline. Only in my hands can they unleash their greatest power, while in your hands, there are only a few regular Supreme God artifacts. Due to the restrictions of your bloodline, the power they can unleash in your hands might not be comparable to a true Supreme God artifact. You should be satisfied with the Xianhuang Qi, True God Yuan liquid, and so on. Hand over the Supreme God artifacts and leave." Seeing that Her Majesty Long Yu was about to let Xing Hui go, Saixia King hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, my World Rainbow Bridge is still in his hands. Then leave the World Rainbow Bridge as well. When the time comes, Saixia King will open the World Rainbow Bridge and send you back to the true Sun Great World," Long Yu said indifferently. Even though she had changed a lot in the past few years, she still had her last shred of conscience. However, what she didn't know was that it was this last shred of conscience that saved her life in the end. Xing Hui looked deeply at Princess Long Yu and finally said, "If you hadn't mustered so many people to attack me today, I would naturally repay you for those supreme divine weapons that are no longer of much use to me. But now, these supreme divine weapons are the price you have to pay for plotting against me. Alright, I have to return as soon as possible. Long Yu, be a good empress of the Kun Dragon world. From now on, we will have nothing to do with each other." After he finished speaking, he didn't give Long Yu any time to react. He took a step forward and his figure directly traversed through layers of void. He actually traversed through the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formation and reappeared in the Kun Dragon world. Although the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formations method of cutting worlds was not bad, it was inferior to the Divine Yen civilization, a level 20 civilization. Even the small universe created by the Divine Yen civilization couldn't trap him, let alone this formation that relied completely on the 10 ultimate heavenly domain formation and was controlled by a cultivator who could create worlds with a thought. After traversing through the void, his figure disappeared from this void. What's going on? Where is he? Where did our target go? The Radiant King and the Peony King's expressions changed. The Godly Might King seemed to have guessed something and said in astonishment, "Could it be that Dong Yang's level of chaos is higher than we thought? That's why he only used a few breaths to sense the Chaos Temple again when the formation that was supposed to block him from sensing it for 100 breaths. So he escaped after activating the characteristics of the Son of Chaos?" Long Yu seemed to have thought of something. Her figure flashed, and in the next moment, she appeared in the Kun Dragon world in a majestic golden battle armor. Almost at the same time she appeared in the Kun Dragon Great World, a terrifying aura so powerful that it caused others to tremble descended from the sky, covering the entire Imperial City region. At the center of that majestic and terrifying aura was the pillar that stabilized the entire Kun Dragon Great World, and also the only primal Chaos Realm giant in the Kun Dragon Great World, the Azure Dragon Sovereign. At the same time when the Azure Dragon Sovereign appeared in this space, an aura that, although not majestic and vast, was filled with profoundness, mysteriousness, and unfathomable depths, started to radiate from him. This aura wasn't as domineering as the Azure Dragon Sovereign's, but it made Long Yu feel even more fearful and mysterious than the Azure Dragon Sovereign. As she shifted her gaze, she discovered in disbelief that the cultivator who emitted this aura was Dong Yang, who had been trapped in the 10 Ultimate Heavenly Domain formation just a second ago. This, Azure Dragon Sovereign. Xing Hui looked at the descending Azure Dragon Sovereign and nodded slightly in greeting. There wasn't the slightest bit of reverence in his expression, as if he was treating the Azure Dragon Sovereign as an equal. The Azure Dragon Sovereign's attitude towards Xing Hui didn't show the slightest bit of displeasure. In fact, he even lowered his stance slightly. Respected powerhouse, may I know what business you have in our Kun Dragon World? Our Kun Dragon World was left behind by the great Lord of Kun Ruins. The Lord of Kun Ruins was the direct disciple of the colossal Dragon City Lord, who had made illustrious contributions in the 3-domain battlefield. Currently, the Lord of Kun Ruins is fighting against the outside world, and the Kun Dragon World is sealed off from the outside world. If you have any business, please inform me directly, and I will do my best to fulfill your request. I'm just passing by the Kun Dragon World. I came here just to find a cultivator in your Kun Dragon World who can create a world with a thought to ask for the coordinates of the world I'm heading to. Now that I have the coordinates, I plan to leave. There's no need to trouble the Azure Dragon Sovereign. Xing Hui smiled, but didn't expose the Azure Dragon Sovereign for hiding the fact that the Lord of Kun Ruins had fallen. I'll be looking for a place 100,000 kilometers away to open the passage between the two worlds. I hope the Azure Dragon Sovereign won't be surprised. When the Azure Dragon Sovereign heard that Xing Hui was really just passing by and was about to leave, he heaved a sigh of relief. He was facing a mysterious sovereign who was clearly stronger than him, and he was the only one in the chaotic realm in the entire Kun Dragon World. Naturally, he was under a lot of pressure. Since that's the case, when our Kun Dragon World opens up again, you'll be welcome as a guest. The Azure Dragon Sovereign said politely. Xing Hui nodded slightly. Then, I won't cause any trouble for the Azure Dragon Sovereign. I'll take my leave first. After saying that, his figure flashed, and he silently disappeared from the Azure Dragon Sovereign's sight. The carefree manner in which he left without a trace made the Azure Dragon Sovereign, who had seen a lot, narrow his eyes. After a long while, he let out a heartfelt sigh. Looking at the aura of time on his body, he probably hasn't even cultivated for 1,000 years. Amazing, amazing. The younger generation will surpass us in time. I'll be able to return to the Divine Wilderness World tomorrow. What changes will happen to the Divine Wilderness World in 100 years? Please look forward to it. Chapter 845. Sovereign, Long Yu watched as the Azure Dragon Sovereign spoke to Xing Hui with a face filled with dread. For a moment, she felt as though her brain was unable to process what was happening. The Azure Dragon Sovereign glared at Long Yu. What happened just now? Why did you activate the 10 Ultimates Heavenly Domain Grand Array for no reason? Fortunately, that Sovereign is easy to talk to. If you had activated the 10 Ultimates Heavenly Domain Grand Array and caused him to misunderstand, even if he were to kill you in a fit of rage, I wouldn't be able to say anything. Activating the Grand Array for no reason, no matter who it is equivalent to provoking him first. In the end, your death will be in vain. At that time, I can only think of ways to find another descendant of my master and spend a great deal of effort to nurture him. Hearing the Azure Dragon Sovereign's words, Long Yu's face instantly turned somewhat pale. At this moment, no matter what, she did not dare to say that she had activated the Grand Array to trap Xing Hui. After all, The Azure Dragon Sovereign was her greatest backer. Even the Azure Dragon Sovereign had said that he was unable to protect her. If Tsing Hui had really wanted to kill her, she would have definitely died in vain. After a long while, Long Yu finally recovered from the shocking scene she had just witnessed. With a trace of fear and trepidation in her voice, she said, "Sovereign, that person, could it be, that he's also a sovereign? At the very least, he's a sovereign, or an existence even stronger than that. Of course, there's also the possibility that he's a descendant of a peak existence, and possesses a supreme treasure bestowed upon him by that peak existence. In any case, you absolutely cannot provoke him. Not to mention you, even I don't have the courage to provoke such a frightening existence." As the Azure Dragon Sovereign spoke, he swept a glance at Long Yu. "I can feel that he seems to be rather young. To have such achievements at such a young age, his future potential is limitless. If you're able to marry such an existence, regardless of whether it's to rule the Kun Dragon world or to ensure that the Kun Dragon world doesn't decline in the future, it'll be immeasurable benefits. Unfortunately, he's only passing by our Kun Dragon world, and has no intention of stopping. You don't have such good fortune." After speaking, the Azure Dragon Sovereign shook his head for a while, before quickly turning around and leaving. The extremely powerful pressure also gradually dissipated. Looking at the Azure Dragon Sovereign leaving, Long Yu thought of the actions she had done over the years. Long Yu opened her mouth, but all of a sudden, a bitter feeling in her heart. It was as if she had lost something extremely important. At this moment, the Divine Might King, the Heavenly Sword King, the Peony King, the Radiant King and the rest came out from the 10 Absolute Heavenly Domain Grand Array. Looking at the Azure Dragon Sovereign who had turned around and left, their faces were filled with reverence. That's the Azure Dragon Sovereign. The mighty Azure Dragon Sovereign just came here. Is the Azure Dragon Sovereign involved in this matter? Peony King asked curiously. On the other hand, Rosy Cloud King seemed to have sensed something. She suddenly turned her gaze in the direction Tsing Hui had just left and exclaimed in surprise, "It's the World Rainbow Bridge. It's the aura of the World Rainbow Bridge. Dong Yang activated the World Rainbow Bridge over there, and he's not more than 100,000 kilometers away. If we hurry over, we might be able to stop him. If we can ask the great Azure Dragon Sovereign to personally take action, then no matter how high his primal chaos level is and how powerful his teleportation technique is, he won't be able to escape." Now, done. Before Rosy Cloud King could finish her words, she was interrupted by Long Yu's shout. Her eyes gradually regained their coldness, and the pressure of an empress once again condensed on her body. "The matter of young Master Dong Yang ends here. From today onwards, we are not allowed to disrespect young Master Dong Yang in the slightest. If young Master Dong Yang enters our Kunlong Great World again, he must be treated as a distinguished guest." Rosy Cloud King couldn't help but widen her eyes. "Your Majesty, this is an order." Long Yu waved her hand, not giving Rosy Cloud King a chance to resist. After giving the order, her figure flashed and disappeared from the sight of the few peak experts. Seeing Long Yu leave, Rosy Cloud King was a little unwilling. "What is this? We mustered so many people, but the result is this anticlimactic. Alright, Rosy Cloud King, can't you see it?" At this moment, the Heavenly Sword King, who had never been good with words, spoke up. He first glanced in the direction where the Azure Dragon Sovereign had left, and then looked in the direction where the World Bridge had opened. After a while, he said in a deep voice, "If I'm not wrong, the Azure Dragon Sovereign should have met young Master Dong Yang just now. This young Master Dong Yang should be more difficult to deal with than we thought." "Dong Yang is more difficult to deal with than we thought." The Radiant King seemed to have thought of something, and his face changed. "You mean, even the Azure Dragon Sovereign doesn't have 100% confidence in dealing with him? Doesn't that mean his cultivation is?" The Heavenly Sword King nodded solemnly. "How is this possible?" The Godly Might King, who had fought with Tsing Hui before, was in disbelief. "Nothing is impossible. Don't forget, he's someone who has entered the royal treasury. Compared to Longyu, he might be the biggest winner. The royal treasury, the radiant king and the godly might king's expressions turned ugly at the same time. In short, if you don't want to die, then obediently obey Her Majesty's words. From now on, don't provoke this young Master Dong Yang. At least, I don't plan to provoke him. After saying that, the Heavenly Sword King's figure flashed and disappeared before everyone's eyes. Seeing the Heavenly Sword King leave, the Radiant King, the Godly Might King, and the Rosy Dawn King were somewhat unwilling. However, considering the strength that Xing Hui had displayed 100 years ago, they might not be able to defeat Xing Hui. Even if they could defeat that Xing Hui from 100 years ago, they might not be able to capture him. A teleportation technique that could only be mastered by a level 30 primal chaos was definitely an effective tool for escaping. For a time, they could only helplessly disperse. In another direction, without the interference of Longyu, the Heavenly Sword King, the Godly Might King, and the others, Xing Hui smoothly activated the World Rainbow Bridge. Relying on the World Rainbow Bridge to open a passage to the true Sun Great World, he stepped into the passage and experienced the familiar spatial travel. In an instant, he had crossed an unknown number of light years. Compared to the previous time when he was forced to travel between worlds, this time, Xing Hui, who had his own great Tao, could see more clearly what was behind the spatial travel. As he carefully observed, not only could he see the intense circulation of the laws of space, but he could also see countless great worlds that resembled galaxies rapidly leaving behind him. In an instant, he had crossed the distance of dozens or even hundreds of great worlds. From the looks of it, I'll have to study the laws of space again if I have the chance in the future. The laws of space are one of the strongest laws of space among the 18 great laws under the Master of Chaos. No, in fact, there are only 12 true laws under the Master of Chaos. The remaining 6 were all plundered from the Master of Gods and the Master of Time. In fact, among the 12 laws, there are a few that are in danger of being plundered. For example, the nether glow, that I've never seen before. The law of darkness that it represents has been completely plundered by the Master of Gods. As a result, the cultivation system of the nether glow bloodline has almost been lost, becoming an existence that exists only in name. Xing Hui stared at the World Rainbow Bridge that crossed 2 worlds and fell into deep thought. After an unknown period of time, a world that resembled a galaxy rapidly enlarged in front of Xing Hui's eyes. Soon after, he was enveloped by the fluctuations of the laws of space and rapidly approached this world. However, just as he was about to enter this great world, he was surprised to find that a large-scale battle had broken out outside the true Sun Great World. Clearly, there were Chaos Realm giants personally involved in the battle. The mighty power radiated over millions or even tens of millions of kilometers into the void. Under the influence of these vibrating powers, the passage between the 2 worlds had collapsed before he could land completely at his teleportation point. Someone destroyed the World Rainbow Bridge? The other end of the World Rainbow Bridge is located at the Kun Dragon Great World. Although the Master of Kun ruins of the Kun Dragon Great World has fallen, this news has not been spread yet. Not many people should know about it. Under such circumstances, how could the true Sun Great World have the guts to offend a great world with a master ruler? Xing Hui's expression immediately changed. The destruction of the World Rainbow Bridge was no small matter. If one was not careful, a cultivator who was in the midst of traveling between worlds would be directly thrown into the endless void. In the endless void, if one wanted to travel from one world to another, even a world realm expert with a single thought would have to spend a few hundred years. As for the traversal realm and the divine true body realm, depending on the distance from the world, they would need to spend thousands or even thousands of years. This kind of thing could easily create a deadly feud between both sides. Fortunately, Xing Hui was already very close to the true Sun Great World. On the other hand, he was a peak figure whose realm was close to that of a great god. The moment the World Rainbow Bridge's passage between the 2 worlds collapsed, he quickly cut into the state of existence and non-existence. He pulled himself out of the World Rainbow Bridge and directly appeared in the endless void outside the true Sun Great World. My return destination is the true martial empire. The person who destroyed my passage between the two worlds is most likely an expert from the true martial empire. Tsing Hui's expression was somewhat unsightly. However, when he saw the two forces fighting in the endless void, he vaguely dispelled this guess. At this moment, there were two battlefields in front of him, and there were 4 Chaos Realm experts participating in the battle. However, what surprised Tsing Hui was that among the 4 Chaos Realm giants, he was actually familiar with the aura of one of them. That was the Supreme Emperor of the True Martial Empire, True Martial Supreme. The remaining 3 Chaos Realm experts, he dared to be certain that these 3 Chaos Realm giants were not born in the true Sun Great World. The life ripples emitted from their bodies had the aura of tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Tsing Hui's thoughts turned, and he immediately guessed something. Is there a world attacking the true Sun Great World? He had no intention of interfering in the world war between the true Sun Great World and the outside world. Taking advantage of the fact that he was still in the state of existence and non-existence, and had not been noticed by the Chaos Realm giants, his figure flashed, and he rapidly passed through the outer layer. When he stepped into the territory of the Scarlet Sun Empire, his figure flashed, and he entered the true Sun Great World. Chapter 846. This Scarlet Sun Empire. Tsing Hui stepped into the Scarlet Sun Empire and scanned his surroundings. He immediately felt that something was amiss. The Scarlet Sun Empire has been breached. Most of the buildings and war fortresses that appeared before him did not belong to the Scarlet Sun Empire. Other than that, the powerful auras of the Scarlet Sun Empire were constantly surging, each stronger than the last. In the core region of the Scarlet Sun Empire, Tsing Hui once again sensed 6 auras of chaotic realm experts. Which world is the true Sun Great World at war with? No. It's not with any world. The correct way to put it is, with several worlds. He could determine that there were 4 different architectural styles. In other words, other than the true Sun Great World, there were 3 other external forces that were at war with the true Sun Great World. Why are there suddenly so many great worlds eyeing the true Sun Great World? What is it about the true Sun Great World that is worth these worlds mobilizing so many forces to invade? Tsing Hui was puzzled. After a moment, he seemed to have thought of something and his expression changed. The Divine Wilderness Great World. What did the true Sun Great World have? The true Sun Great World had a teleportation channel that led directly to the Divine Wilderness Great World. With that thought, Tsing Hui turned around and broke free from the many laws and binding forces. He rushed toward the Divine Wilderness Great World's teleportation channel at the fastest speed possible. Before Tsing Hui could get close to the Divine Wilderness Great World, the auras of 4 Chaotic Realm Supremes came rushing toward him. Between the auras of these Chaotic Realm Supremes, Tsing Hui could clearly sense the energy waves emitted by the World Teleportation Channel. Moreover, there was more than one such energy wave. Within a few 100,000 kilometers of the Divine Wilderness Great World, there were at least 4 or 5 world teleportation channels emitting spatial auras. As Tsing Hui arrived above the Divine Wilderness Great World, he was disturbed by the energy emitted by the World Teleportation Channel. His figure was unavoidably revealed, and at this moment, 4 auras of chaotic realm locked onto him. Who is it? Show yourself. Accompanied by a series of fierce roars, a huge illusory world appeared above the Divine Wilderness Great World, encompassing almost the entire Divine Wilderness Great World and even the territory around it. At the same time, it carried a mighty aura and suppressed Tsing Hui. These people are indeed here for the Divine Wilderness Great World. Tsing Hui's face suddenly turned ugly. In particular, the hostility of the 4 primal Chaos Realm Supremes infuriated Tsing Hui even more. The Scarlet Abyss Sword, which had already broken through to the primal Chaos Realm, instantly appeared in his hand. At the same time, the characteristic of existence and non-existence in his body was completely activated. He and the sword became one, and like a sword light that freely traversed through the void, it directly shot into the enormous world of one of the primal Chaos Realm Supremes that was over 200,000 kilometers wide. With a resplendent light that could tear apart the sky, the barrier and laws of this enormous world were shattered in one fell swoop. How dare you! The primal chaos supreme who was attacked let out a roar, and a world god that had condensed a world energy of 200,000 kilometers appeared. Even though it was less than 100 meters tall, the energy it contained could easily turn a star into dust if it was released. Slash! Xing Hui became one with his sword and locked his gaze on the world god. The Scarlet Abyss sword light shot out like an arrow and collided with the world god's divine ability. Crack! Along with the crisp sound of glass, the world god who had struck out with his divine ability was like tempered glass that was hit by a bullet. He was directly penetrated by Xing Hui's sword, and a large number of cracks appeared where he was penetrated, causing his enormous body to almost collapse. What? What kind of technique is this? Under the astonished gaze of the primal chaos realm supremes, Xing Hui's sword light shot directly into the core of this world that was 200,000 kilometers wide. The sword light that carried an unstoppable sharpness instantly pierced into the center of this world's core. The sound of glass breaking reverberated again. The moment this world's core was destroyed, the entire center of the world suddenly shook violently, as though a black hole had appeared out of thin air and began to crazily devour the surrounding matter. At this rate, this special existence that resembled a black hole would not take long to completely devour this world of 200,000 kilometers, causing the entire world to collapse and be annihilated. However, the primal chaos realm supremes who dominated this world obviously would not allow it. With a low roar, the power of Great Tao seemed to appear in the void. It was a blazing and violent Great Tao of light, the Great Tao of blazing sun that belonged to the divine beast Golden Crow. With the appearance of this power of Great Tao, an endless stream of power crazily fell from the void of this world and spread toward the black hole that was devouring everything. Soon, the hole that resembled a black hole was filled, causing the turbulence and destruction of the world to gradually calm down. At the same time, the severely injured world god also shouted angrily with a trace of fear in his voice, "Who are you? Which force do you represent? Get out of here!" As he spoke, the power of the entire world began to surge wildly and hit Xing Hui's body, as though it was trying to expel Xing Hui from the world. However, Xing Hui activated his own characteristics of existence and non-existence, causing the repulsive force of the world that ordinary supremes could not resist to be mostly offset by him. He was like a fish in a stormy sea. No matter how turbulent the waves were, they could only make his body move slightly. It was wishful thinking to want to smash him into pieces like a giant ship. Great Path Laws, huh? Primal Chaos Realm Supremes are different from World Creation Realm Supremes. World Creation Realm Supremes are very fragile. If I destroy their world core, which is the boundary artifact, the entire world system will be completely destroyed. It won't take long for the entire world to collapse. However, Primal Chaos Realm Supremes' worlds are not only sturdy, they also have the power of Great Path supporting them. Even if I destroy their boundary artifact, they can rely on the power of Great Path to continuously replenish their world. They can still maintain their world without collapsing for a short period of time. Once the battle is over, they can find a new boundary artifact, cultivate and stabilize their world again. Soon, Xing Hui saw the difference between Primal Chaos Realm Supremes and Boundary Realm Experts. If the Boundary Realm Supremes were destroyed, the probability of the Boundary Realm Expert dying was more than 90%. But to destroy the Boundary Realm Supremes, at best, it could only severely injure them. Unless the speed of their world's destruction was faster than the Great Tao's restoration, a Primal Chaos Realm Supremes would not be so easy to kill. The Great Tao of Great Tao. If it was a dozen years ago and my Great Tao of Great Tao was slightly weaker, I would definitely be the one to lose if we clashed on the Great Tao of Great Tao. But now, Xing Hui's eyes flashed. Then, he suddenly soared into the air and slashed at the Great Tao of the Sun or the Great Tao of Light that permeated the air above the Primal Chaos Realm Supremes. When he slashed out, his Great Tao of all things as one was fully activated. It bloomed with brilliant light and madly expelled the Great Tao of Light's power of law. The two great Taos collided and shook in the void, causing the great Tao of Light's power of law in the void to become chaotic. It could no longer continuously replenish the world with a diameter of 200,000 kilometers. For a moment, the all-devouring black hole at the center of the world lost its energy to replenish it. It once again unleashed its might and madly devoured the entire world's matter. It seemed like it would not stop until it had devoured the entire world. Damn it, the power of cutting Tao, the power of cutting Tao, this is a great Tao divine weapon. Ku Long Supreme, Chi Rui Supreme, quickly come and help me. Instantly, there was a cry of terror in the world. This primal chaos realm supremes clearly felt that their lives were in danger. Supreme divine weapons, origin divine weapons, and great Tao divine weapons corresponded to the first, second, and third tier of the primal chaos realm. Their ranks were equivalent to the 19th, 20th, and 21st tier of the primal chaos realm. Compared to the other great Tao divine weapons, which only differed in terms of power, the greatest characteristic of great Tao divine weapons was that they possessed the power of cutting Tao. When the power of a great Tao divine weapon was fully activated, even the power of great Tao law would be temporarily severed. Against primal chaos realm supremes, this was a super-killing weapon that had never failed. Of course, this was only a great threat to supremes. To second-tier primal chaos realm supremes who had cultivated the origin divine body, the threat of a great Tao divine weapon was greatly reduced. As this supreme's voice spread, two mighty forces surged in from outside this supreme's world. One of the supremes should have cultivated the defensive laws of the primal chaos divine beast, while the other was filled with a blazing and violent aura. Clearly, he was also a primal chaos realm supremes of the Golden Crow lineage. With the arrival of these two primal chaos realm supremes, Tsing Hui was unable to further destroy this primal chaos realm supreme's world. Hence, with a turn of his body, he moved in a direction that the two primal chaos realm supremes could not follow and appeared in the newly arrived Chi Rui Supreme's world. Using the same method, he ignored all the defenses in Chi Rui Supreme's small world, including a 19th tier array built on a boundary artifact. He directly shattered the heavily protected boundary artifact in one fell swoop. Damn it, what kind of ability is this? When the boundary artifact shattered, a black hole immediately formed. Chi Rui Supreme immediately roared angrily, unable to take care of himself. He had no choice but to continuously mobilize the power of the Great Tao to repair the damage in his world. After shattering Chi Rui Supreme's boundary artifact, Tsing Hui once again traveled to Ku Long Supreme's world. However, compared to Chi Rui Supreme, Ku Long Supreme, who specialized in defense, was clearly prepared. He had completely fortified his world. The moment Tsing Hui appeared, a world god so large that it could encompass the entire boundary artifact appeared. At the same time, there were several 19th-tier defensive arrays around him. When these arrays were stacked together, even with Tsing Hui's unique ability to exist and not exist, he still felt a headache coming on. At this moment, Ku Long Supreme's somewhat nervous voice reverberated throughout the entire world. "Sir, who are you? Could it be that you've also come for the divine wilderness great world's vessel of truth? If that's the case, Sir's strength has already been acknowledged by us. You can use the teleportation array to head to the divine wilderness great world. As for how many vessel of truth you can obtain, it will depend on Sir's methods. Why fight to the death now and let the other great worlds benefit for nothing?" Chapter 847. When Tsing Hui heard this primal chaos realm supreme's words, he paused for a moment and did not answer immediately. Instead, he said, "My name is Dong Yang, an expert from the Qiang Empire of the True Sun Great World. After hundreds and thousands of years in the three-domain battlefield, I finally broke through to the chaotic realm and became a supreme. Based on the outstanding contributions I accumulated in the three-domain battlefield and the peerless talent I displayed over the years, I was able to become the disciple of a top great medium and received a great path divine weapon from him. This time, I came here to return home in glory. However, when I returned to my country, I discovered that you and other foreign supremes had occupied the territory of my Qiang Empire. Therefore, I did not hesitate to launch an attack. An expert from the true Sun Great World? You became the disciple of a great medium and received a great path divine weapon from him? When the Primal Chaos Realm Supremes heard Xing Hui's report, they were all shocked. This was especially so when Xing Hui displayed some traces of age on his life aura. These Primal Chaos Realm Supremes could not help but widen their eyes. The traces of age on his life aura. He's too young, I can feel a vigorous vitality in his life aura. His true age is probably much younger than we imagined. 3,000 years old? 2,000 years old? Or, even younger. At such a young age, he became a supreme master of the chaotic realm within 1,000 years. It's no wonder that a great master took him in as a disciple and gave him a divine implement of the great path. Moreover, the Dharma access that he used to travel between our worlds should also be a secret technique exclusive to great masters. The Primal Chaos Realm Supremes were shocked. Regardless of strength or background, the other party made these Primal Chaos Realm Supremes uneasy. After a long while, the only one among the three who had not been destroyed by Xing Hui, Supreme Withered Long, said cautiously, Supreme Dong Yang, we are very sorry about what happened in the Qiang Empire. We come from the Taihua Great World, which is not far from the True Sun Great World. The main reason we attacked the True Sun Great World and even the Qiang Empire was because the True Sun Great World was the only place connected to the Divine Wilderness Great World. You should have heard of the Divine Wilderness Great World, right? When I left the True Sun Great World, I was only at the Divine True Body Realm, so I haven't heard of it. How is the Divine Wilderness Great World? Tell me about it, but you'd better not lie to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for fighting to the death with you. I may not be able to kill all of you in a short time, but as long as I continue to destroy, I will eventually bring down your world. When that time comes, what awaits you is the fate of death. Supreme Withered Long was silent for a moment, but in the end, he had no choice but to say with a hint of grievance, we admit that you are powerful enough to bring down our world. You have the ability to do so. The matter of the Divine Wilderness Great World is not a secret, and we will not lie to you about it. In fact, a long time ago, us Supremes who control the local Primal Chaos Temple noticed that every time we sold goods through the Primal Chaos Temple, we would be pleasantly surprised at the high price. From that time onwards, we deliberately paid attention to these details. It was not until more than 200 years ago, when we defeated a world called the Heaven Primal Great World, that we found out from them that the world that bought our goods at such a high price was a weak little world called the Divine Wilderness. 10,000 years ago, your True Sun Great World and the Heaven Primal Great World that we defeated launched a war against the Divine Wilderness Great World, 10,000 years ago. Our True Sun Great World did indeed suffer a great loss because of some experience. Xing Hui nodded. Yes, the production of Tao carriers in the Divine Wilderness Great World is far beyond our imagination. In fact, the annual production of Tao aura in our worlds is less than 300. Only by relying on the high price of the Primal Chaos Temple's subsidies can we reach more than 1,000. The initial estimate of the production of Tao carriers in the Divine Wilderness Great World is probably a terrifying number of 15,000. When we learned of the existence of such a peerless treasure in the Heaven Primal Great World, we did not hesitate to change our target and plan to attack the Divine Wilderness Great World. Then, by chance, we learned that the True Sun Great World had a transmission array that connected to the Divine Wilderness Great World. In order to avoid wasting too much time on the way to the Divine Wilderness Great World, 10 years ago, we forcefully broke the seal of the True Sun Great World and invaded it. 10 years ago? Xing Hui's heart sank when he heard this. You are all the power of the Taihua Great World? That's not the case. Our Taihua Great World has a total of 9 Primal Chaos Realm Supremes. Due to the Divine Wilderness Great World, we temporarily formed an alliance, leaving 3 people to oversee the Taihua Great World, 3 to guard the True Sun Great World's teleportation array, and the remaining 3 to enter the Divine Wilderness Great World. 3. Xing Hui's expression changed. Then those Chaotic Realm Supremes come from the Jade Capital Great World, the Northernmost Great World, and the Fantasy Great World. These great worlds are not inferior to our Tai Hua Great World. Among them, there are 8 chaotic realms supremes in the Jade Capital Great World, 10 in the northernmost Great World, and 6 in the Fantasy Great World. However, although there are fewer chaotic realms supremes in the Fantasy Great World, they are proficient in soul attacks, especially their leader, Supreme Mengyu. Her means are impossible to guard against. The threat of her alone is comparable to that of 3 or 4 chaotic realm supremes. The biggest obstacle to entering the True Sun Great World, Supreme Jinwu, was defeated and restrained by Supreme Mengyu. Ku Long spared no effort in explaining this common knowledge. In fact, there was no need to hide this information. The other party only needed to inquire a little and they would be able to find out everything. In other words, the number of Supremes who have entered the Divine Wilderness Great World has already reached 12. That's not the case. Supreme Ku Long hurriedly said, in addition to our 4 great worlds, there are many other forces who have also sent experts into the Divine Wilderness Great World, such as the Taoist Ancestor, the Supreme Elder of the Void Sword Pavilion, the sect leader of the Three Phases sect, and so on. These people all have powerful organizations behind them and are not burdened by their great worlds. We can't afford to offend them. In addition, they have formed an alliance to support each other, so we can't stop them from forcibly entering the Divine Wilderness Great World to avoid endless trouble in the future. Currently, the number of chaotic realm supremes in the Divine Wilderness Great World should be between 18 to 20. Moreover, because the Supremes of the Scarlet Sun Empire went to other great worlds to ask for reinforcements, the news that the Divine Wilderness Great World has a large number of Tao-carrying objects can no longer be concealed. More and more forces will turn their attention to the Divine Wilderness Great World. A terrifying world that produces 15,000 Tao-carrying objects every year. At this point, this Supremes who specialized in defense could only laugh bitterly. It's only a matter of time before a ruler who has cultivated the mixed Yuan sacred body is attracted here. A ruler. Currently, our only hope is to pin our hopes on the True Sun Great World's isolation and delay as much time as possible. However, with a ruler's ability, if he wants to fly into the True Sun Great World from a nearby Great World, it will take at most 100 years. In other words, even if we occupy the Divine Wilderness Great World and plunder it to our heart's content, we can only occupy it for 80 to 90 years. Once a ruler arrives, all of us chaotic realm experts will have to make way for him. After saying this, Supreme Ku Long glanced at Xing Hui. Not just a ruler, perhaps even a great ability master would not be able to turn a blind eye to a world with such a high production of Tao-carrying objects. In addition, this man in front of him had a great ability master backing him. As long as he could report this news, it would only be a matter of time before a great ability master personally arrived. Xing Hui knew that his so-called identity as the disciple of a great ability master was just a figment of his imagination. However, if news of the Divine Wilderness Great World's production of Tao-carrying objects really did spread, it would not be difficult for a great ability master to personally come. In fact, if not for the fact that the Divine Wilderness Great World and True Sun Great World were located in the rear, or even near the borders of the Great World, where the number of experts was rare, and there might not even be 1 or 2 rulers in hundreds or thousands of great worlds, a ruler would have already entered the Divine Wilderness Great World. After making a trip to the 3-domain battlefield, he fully understood the value of Tao-carrying objects. The merit points obtained from killing an opponent equivalent to a primal Chaos Realm Supreme could only be exchanged for 10 Tao-carrying objects. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Right now, the people attacking the Divine Wilderness Great World were primal Chaos Realm Supremes. He could still deal with them, but if a ruler came, when he thought of this, he did not intend to waste any more time outside. He said bluntly, "I want a spot in a place as precious as the Divine Wilderness Great World. Of course, with your esteemed self-strength that is not inferior to Sovereign Mengyu, or even slightly stronger than Sovereign Mengyu, it is enough for you to win our respect. You can occupy a continent in the Divine Wilderness Great World and harvest as much as you want." Supreme Withered Dragon quickly said. "Since we are all busy harvesting the Tao-carrying objects in the Divine Wilderness Great World, then, there is no need for us to fight. Open the world transfer array and let me go to the divine wilderness great world. Sing Hui said. Alright, we will open the transfer array for you, Supreme Withered Dragon added. The Withered Dragon Sovereign added, we of the Tai Hua Great World express our deepest regret for the conflict just now. We hope that you won't be displeased with the upcoming hunt because of this matter. Of course, it was just a misunderstanding. Sing Hui nodded. Although his battle strength was above that of ordinary Supremes, he was still a little weak against at least 20 or 30 Primal Chaos Realm Supremes who were attacking the Divine Wilderness Great World. Just as Supreme Withered Dragon opened the transfer array and invited Sing Hui to step into it, Sing Hui seemed to have thought of something and asked, that's right, there should be many local powerhouses in the Divine Wilderness Great World, right? I wonder how they are doing. Will I be attacked if I go to the Divine Wilderness Great World? Supreme Withered Dragon immediately laughed when he heard this. Rest assured, Supreme Eastern Sunday. 10,000 years ago, there were indeed many powerhouses in the Divine Wilderness Great World. Let alone Supremes, it is said that there was even a person who called himself a ruler. I don't know if this is true or not, but these powerhouses seem to have an internal conflict 10,000 years ago. Even the one suspected to be a ruler fell in the internal conflict, killed by a sneak attack by his trusted aide. The pitiful forces in the Divine Wilderness Great World are not even worth mentioning. Chapter 848. The Divine Wilderness Great World. The former Top Chaos Organization's eternal base. Sing Hui's figure appeared directly in the teleportation array. There was also a Chaos Realm Supreme overseeing the teleportation array. Although he was unfamiliar with Sing Hui's face, he understood that those who could step into the teleportation array must have broken through the joint blockade of Withered Dragon Prime, Chi Rui Prime, and the others, and had the qualifications to compete for the resources of the Divine Wilderness Great World. Even if the Chaos Realm Supreme overseeing the teleportation array was unfamiliar with such an expert, he still nodded politely. Sing Hui glanced at the Chaos Realm Supreme with an indifferent expression. He directly soared into the sky and quickly left. The Chaos Realm Supreme's expression turned ugly when he saw this scene, but he did not say anything in the end. His duty was to guard the teleportation array of the Tai Hua Great World, to prevent it from being destroyed and cutting off the Tai Hua Great World's escape route. Whoosh! Sing Hui flew into the void, his gaze seemingly able to penetrate layers of space as he looked around the Divine Wilderness Great World. The entire Divine Wilderness Great World had the Tianhuang mainland as its center, with a radius of about 150 million to 200 million kilometers, which meant that its diameter was no more than 400 million kilometers. Although it had a territory of 400 million kilometers, the true core was only 100 million kilometers with the Tianhuang mainland as the center. This 100 million kilometers was the true bustling land. Compared to 100 years ago, the Divine Wilderness Great World had undoubtedly changed greatly. Sing Hui did not need to carefully sense powerful auras rampaging through the Divine Wilderness Great World. Most of these auras were of the Divine True Body and the Traversal Realm, but from time to time, there were also the auras of the Chaos Realm. Sing Hui did not need to guess to know that this must be because they had sensed the existence of the Divine Wilderness Great World. Under this kind of conflict, the entire Divine Wasteland Great World was currently in chaos, with the flames of war everywhere. When Sing Hui looked up, he could see a black hole-like whirlpool 300,000 kilometers away, continuously devouring the Divine Wasteland Great World's matter. If this vortex appeared in the small world of a one-thought realm expert, it would only take 6 to 10 hours at most for it to completely devour their world, causing them to perish. However, due to the Divine Wilderness Great World being extremely large and its mass being astonishing, the black hole had existed for 10 days to half a month without completely disappearing. It only caused the area within a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers to become a Yuan-Chi desert. Even the living things on the ground were rapidly dying. It should be two Primal Chaos Supremes fighting here. Furthermore, they are going all out. If this continues, it won't be long before the entire Divine Wilderness Great World is shattered by them. Sing Hui looked at the scene in front of him with an ugly expression. It was not difficult for him to spend half a month to kill a Primal Chaos Supremes. However, the problem was that most of the Primal Chaos Supremes who came this time were in groups of 2 or 3. Some were even in groups of 4 or 6. He was slightly stronger than ordinary Primal Chaos Supremes but did not have the ability to change the situation of the battle. If he rashly killed a Primal Chaos Supremes and if things went wrong, it might cause the other Primal Chaos Supremes to feel threatened and join forces to deal with him alone. Let's go to the Hunyuan Sword sect to take a look first. Xing Hui turned and quickly flew in the direction of Tianqiong. When he left, Tianqiong had already formed the Hunyuan Sword sect by combining the Sword Shadow sect, Rainbow Sword sect, and other forces into one. Its location was the Tier 15 array of the Heavenly Way. However, that 15th order array formation could be said to be sturdy and tyrannical in the Divine Wilderness Great World at that time. But in the face of the groups of Divine True Body Realm experts, Unhindered Realm experts, and even World Creation Realm experts, as well as the Primal Chaos Realm experts who could oversee a world and ensure the stability of a great world, it was not worth mentioning. In fact, this was indeed the case. When Xing Hui really arrived at the Hunyuan Sword sect, the entire mountain range within 10,000 kilometers of the Hunyuan Sword sect had been uprooted. What entered his sight were ruins and some corpses that clearly belonged to the disciples of the Hunyuan Sword sect could be faintly seen. You actually destroyed my Hunyuan Sword sect. You invaders, all of you deserve to die. Xing Hui's eyes flashed with raging anger. Biting cold killing intent erupted from his body and pierced through the void. His gaze turned and directly charged toward the 2 unhindered realm experts who were fighting closest to him. With a leap, he appeared 20,000 kilometers away. Here, the 2 unhindered realm experts led by dozens of Divine True Body realm experts were engaged in a fierce battle. Xing Hui descended and did not waste any words. His terrifying force field, which was not inferior to a black hole, had already enveloped the area. The Divine True Body realm experts who were fighting fiercely did not even have the chance to scream before they were crushed into pieces by the terrifying force field naturally emitted from his body. Even the 2 unhindered realm experts who were fighting fiercely a second ago screamed and revealed their true bodies to resist the force field. However, judging from the speed at which their divine true bodies were being destroyed, it would take at most a few dozen breaths for them to still be unable to escape the fate of death that awaited them. Spare me. Spare me. Sovereign, please spare me. This one is the subordinate of Sovereign Sea of the Tai Hua Great World. I don't know how I have offended Senior, but please spare my life and give me a chance to atone for my crimes. The 2 unhindered realm experts shouted, their faces filled with fear. Tai Hua Great World. Xing Hui's gaze fell on the other unhindered realm expert. Your identity. I am Taoist Bishop Qiu. I came with our sect ancestor, Taoist Bishop Qiu. You are the first batch of cultivators to enter the Divine Wilderness Great World. Let me ask you, which force destroyed the Hunyuan Sword sect that originally belonged to the Divine Wilderness Great World 20,000 kilometers away? The Hunyuan Sword sect. The strongest sect in the world, but still only has one Divine True Body Realm cultivator overseeing it? It has nothing to do with us. This sect was personally destroyed by the Primal Chaos Sovereigns of the Yujing Great World and the Northernmost Great World. It has nothing to do with us. When the people of the Tai Hua Great World arrived, the Hunyuan Sword sect had already been completely emptied. Yujing Great World, Northernmost Great World, Xing Hui's eyes flashed with a cold light. The other Pathfinder expert who had followed the Daoist path looked at Qing Su, who was on the verge of exploding with rage. He was terrified. By now, he could already tell that the sovereign before him was probably a native cultivator of the Divine Wilderness Great World. Perhaps he was a peak figure who had left the Divine Wilderness Great World 10,000 years ago to conquer the outside world. To prevent Qing Su from directly killing him out of anger, he immediately racked his brains, racking his brains to think of all the information that could help him preserve his life. As he racked his brains, he really did manage to think of some useful information. At this moment, he hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, although the Hunyuan sword sect was facing a disaster under the attack of the northernmost Great World and the Yujing Great World, when the northernmost Great World and the Yujing Great World destroyed the Hunyuan sword sect, some people in the Void Sword Pavilion also wanted to take a share of the Hunyuan sword sect. Later, a war broke out between the three sides. In the end, the Hunyuan sword sect was destroyed by the northernmost Great World and the Yujing Great World. However, many of the main figures of the Hunyuan sword sect were captured by the Void Sword Pavilion to force them to hand over the Taoist objects and the primal chaos level." Void Sword Pavilion. When Xing Hui thought of the Void Sword Pavilion, he immediately thought of Sword Master Bai Heng. Sword Master Bai Heng, by Shuaing, was in the Void Sword Pavilion. According to these people, in 100 years, esteemed Zhu Zhao had broken through to the divine true body realm. Then, after entering the Void Sword Pavilion, by Shuaing, who had a better environment, talent, and also had the originator, should have a higher cultivation level. She should be at least in the traversal realm. If the Void Sword Pavilion really spared no effort to cultivate her, it would not be strange for her to have cultivated to the realm of a thought. After all, in an environment like the Divine Wilderness Great World, Sword Master Bai Heng only took less than 300 years to cultivate to the realm of domain. If she really broke through to the realm of a thought, her words would have weight in the Void Sword Pavilion. If she came forward to ask the people of the Void Sword Pavilion to protect the core members of the Hunyuan sword sect, it would be completely reasonable. Where is the Void Sword Pavilion? Over there, less than 1,000,000 kilometers from here. The traversal realm expert hurriedly pointed in a direction. That was the direction of the White Rainbow Sword Sect. The Void Sword Pavilion could set up its temporary headquarters in the White Rainbow Sword Sect. It seemed that Bai Shuaing's status in the Void Sword Pavilion was not too low. Thinking of this, Xing Hui's figure flashed, and he went straight to the temporary residence of the Void Sword Pavilion here. Seeing Xing Hui leave, the two traversal realm experts who had narrowly escaped death breathed a sigh of relief as if relieved of a heavy burden. However, before they could completely breathe a sigh of relief, two sword lights directly shattered the void and shot toward them. In an instant, the two people's foreheads were pierced. The power of the great way of all things returned to one contained in the sword chi extinguished all their vitality on the spot. Invading my divine wilderness great world, wantonly destroying my divine wilderness great world, damn it. After the two people died, Xing Hui's voice seemed to faintly come from the void. After killing the two traversal realm experts, Xing Hui was extremely fast and quickly flew toward the residence of the Void Sword Pavilion. Compared to the True Sun Great World, the Taihua Great World, and the northernmost Great World, the Void Sword Pavilion was much more powerful. This could be seen from the fact that the Void Sword Pavilion could open branches in the True Sun Great World, the Taihua Great World, the northernmost Great World, and the Yujing Great World to recruit genius disciples, but these great worlds did not dare to come forward to stop the loss of these geniuses. It was said that there was a dominator inside the Void Sword Pavilion, and there was more than one. Such a powerful force, even if only a part of its strength was sent, could still make the Taihua Great World, the northernmost Great World, the True Sun Great World, and the Yujing Great World extremely fearful. But they were just fearful. In the face of the shocking profits of tens of thousands of years of Taoism objects every year, not to mention that the dominators of the Void Sword Pavilion had not yet arrived, even if the dominators came in person, the supreme beings of the True Sun Great World, the Taihua Great World, the northernmost Great World, the Yujing Great World, and the Fantasy Great World would dare to take the risk. After all, as long as they could get enough Taoism aura to buy a life-saving divine weapon of the Great Path, the supreme beings might be able to survive in front of the dominators. And if their life-saving ability was strong, it meant that they could explore more dangerous places and get more resources. In the future, it would be easier to cultivate the origin sacred body and step into the dominator realm. This was a battle of the Great Path, and there was no room for retreat. In this case, although the Void Sword Pavilion occupied a place on Heaven Wasteland, because it did not have the power to control the world, it still did not dare to be too arrogant. Chapter 849. Void Sword Pavilion. Tsing Hui's figure appeared outside the Void Sword Pavilion. As a huge force with more than one dominator, even if the Void Sword Pavilion was a temporary mountain gate, it was still extraordinary. Tsing Hui could judge that although the area in front of him was only about 100 kilometers, Tsing Hui felt the fluctuations of the small world inside. And it was an internal cycle. Even if it was isolated from the world, it could still grow and multiply. This kind of small world did not need to rely on external forces to replenish its own consumption, so it was often impregnable. The small world of the Boundary Realm and the Chaotic Realm Supreme seemed to be defenseless in front of Tsing Hui. He could enter and leave as he wished. However, in the face of such a small world with an internal cycle, entering it was equivalent to entering a formation of at least the 20th level. As long as there were a few Chaotic Realm Supreme Masters personally presiding over it, it was inevitable that he would not be able to leave. Tsing Hui stayed outside the Void Sword Pavilion for less than a moment. Immediately, a majestic aura descended from the sky with a hint of sharpness. This is the territory of the Void Sword Pavilion. What business do you have here? As the aura descended, a dignified figure slowly appeared. This figure was an old man who looked like an immortal. His aura was extraordinary. He himself was compatible with the omnipresent power of the Great Way in the territory of the Master of Chaos. Judging from the cutting and sharpness of the power of the Great Way on his body, this was a Chaotic Realm Supreme Master who had comprehended the Great Way of space and developed it toward attack. Tsing Hui's eyes stayed on this Chaotic Realm Supreme Master for a moment, and then glanced at the small world behind him. The Void Sword Pavilion had left quite a few people in the encampment, but Qing Su did not sense any familiar presences among them. As a result, he speculated that if the people of the Hunyuan Sword sect had really been saved by the people of the Void Sword Pavilion, they should have been placed in this miniature world. Because he did not know the situation of the people of the Hunyuan Sword sect, Tsing Hui did not go straight to the point. Instead, he said in a roundabout way, "I'm here to find Bai Shuaing." "Is he here?" "Bai Shuaing?" The sage-like old man stared at Tsing Hui warily. "You want to see her? Who are you to her?" "Looks like she's here. Please tell her that the old friend who bought the Torch Sun Sutra from her is here." The old man frowned. He could sense a vague, unfathomable presence from Qing Su, but he still nodded in the end. He was unwilling to offend an expert who was clearly a Chaotic Realm sovereign. "Then please wait a moment." As he spoke, he sent out a strand of his consciousness, which entered the small world and disappeared without a trace. A short moment later, there was a response from the small world. Bai Shuaing, the master of Sword Bai Heng, immediately appeared outside the small world. When she saw the man standing in the air with the sage-like old man, her pretty face was filled with shock and surprise. She immediately jumped over and said, "Tsing Hui, you're back." "Oh." When the old man saw that Bai Shuaing was acquainted with this unfathomable primal chaos supreme and seemed to have a good relationship with him, he couldn't help but ask, "Shuaing, may I know who this supreme is?" "Supreme?" Bai Shuaing was slightly stunned when she heard the old man address Tsing Hui respectfully. "Great Elder Floating Light, you're saying Tsing Hui is a supreme?" The old man named Floating Light smiled and stroked his beard. "This old man still has eyes. This supreme Tsing Hui's cultivation is definitely at the primal chaos realm. Moreover, his cultivation method and bloodline should be extremely profound. It's to the point that I can't see how far his small world has expanded." "Supreme." After receiving confirmation from Floating Light, Bai Shuaing looked at Tsing Hui with surprise in her eyes. "Shuaing, I want to ask about the Hunyuan Sword sect," Tsing Hui said in a deep voice. Hearing Tsing Hui's inquiry, Bai Shuaing also suppressed the joy of reuniting with her old friend and bowed to Floating Light. "Great Elder, Tsing Hui is my friend. Can I bring him into the mysterious void world?" "Of course." Floating Light had a faint smile on his face. Although the Void Sword Pavilion could be called a top-level force, a primal chaos realm supreme still had an extremely important weight. "Now, a disciple of the sect was on good terms with a rather mysterious primal chaos realm supreme. Whether it was to broaden her future social circle or to strengthen the foundation of the Void Sword Pavilion itself, it was of vital importance. Especially now, the Void Sword Pavilion was competing with other forces for the right to distribute the resources of the Divine Wilderness Great World. They only sent 4 Primal Chaos Realm Supreme to guard here. In such a big environment, the more Primal Chaos Realm Supreme they had, the better. Thinking of this, Floating Light added with a smile, "If there's a chance, I hope to communicate with Supreme Tsing Hui." "There will be a chance," Tsing Hui said, and followed by Shuaing directly into this small world. As Tsing Hui stepped into this small world, he immediately felt that this world was unusual. Just as he guessed, the entire small world had been built to be impregnable. Not only were there layers of great Tao laws in the world barrier, but there were also a large number of strangulation formations. Some of the formations were so powerful that ordinary Primal Chaos Realm Supreme would face a situation of near death if they were to fall into it. Of course, due to the characteristics of the Master of Chaos, everyone only paid attention to the size after reaching the realm of boundary with thought. They only focused on personal combat power, so the power of the formations naturally began to decline greatly. The layout of this small world could be presided over by 3 or 4 Primal Chaos Realm Supreme to resist the invasion of more than 10 Primal Chaos Realm Supreme, but it was still an extravagant hope to rely on this small world to resist the Primal Chaos Sacred Body. Tsing Hui. I'm very sorry about the Hunyuan Sword Sect. Bai Shuaing took Qing Su into the depths of the world. Her face was filled with pity. Now that the Divine Wilderness Great World is facing such a disaster, there's a limit to what you can do. I just want to know how the main members of our Hunyuan Sword Sect are doing. That should be the most fortunate thing, Lin Li said with a smile. Bai Shuaing let out a sigh of relief and said, even though our Hunyuan Sword Sect was defeated by the invading forces in the instant of the battle, our side's greatest advantage is that our Primal Chaos Realm is extremely high. Almost every upper echelon of the Hunyuan Sword Sect has a Primal Chaos Realm of 29. Even if they don't, they've accumulated many Tao carrying treasures over the years. When they sensed that the enemy was so strong that they couldn't fight against them, they immediately chose to use teleportation techniques to escape. Teleportation techniques. Hearing Bai Shuaing's words, Tsing Hui's eyes couldn't help but light up slightly. Master Firmament, Master Candle Illumination, Master Tsangzhen, and the others, they've all escaped successfully and are currently hiding in various corners of the Divine Wilderness Great World. In addition, a small number of people from the Hunyuan Sword Sect have been intercepted by Elder Floating Light and taken in by our small world. Tsing Hui was a little surprised. Master Candle Illumination, Master Firmament, Master Tsangzhen, and the others aren't hiding here. The Void Sword Pavilion is not a monolithic block. Among the several great elders of the Void Sword Pavilion, Floating Light and Sweeping Shadow are from the line of my master, the Liha Sword Master. Relying on my master's face, they agreed to protect the core disciples of our original White Rainbow Sword sect. However, the remaining 2 great elders, Yichen and Lanxin, are from the line of another Firmament Sword Master. They've coveted the Primal Chaos realm of Elder Changhong and the others more than once. Under such circumstances, I dare not let the others of the Hunyuan Sword Sect enter the mysterious Void World for protection. When Bai Shuaing said this, there was a trace of powerlessness in her tone. I understand. Tsing Hui nodded. I believe you've done your best. After that, he glanced at Bai Shuaing and smiled slightly. I haven't congratulated you on your breakthrough in cultivation. I thought that after 100 years, you would at most break through to the level of the traversal realm. I didn't expect you to condense a small world and step into the realm of creating a world with a thought. It's really incredible. My achievements today are inseparable from the originator you sold to me. In addition, my master, the Liha Sword Master, has helped me a lot. Although the originator is good, it also depends on who uses it. I heard on the way that the strongest person in our Divine Wilderness Great World so far is only in the Divine True Body realm, right? It should be Master Candle Illumination and Master Firmament. Both of them also have the originator, but in 100 years, they have only condensed the divine true body. Compared to you, who has already cultivated a small world, how much worse is it? Bai Shuaing heard this and smiled. You're still talking about me. I heard clearly what Great Elder Floating Light said just now. Supreme Master of the Chaotic Realm, Supreme Tsing Hui. In our Void Sword Pavilion, Supreme Masters of the first level of the Chaotic Realm are called Sword Masters, and the Masters of the second level of the Chaotic Realm are called Sword Masters. This time, your title of Sword Master is truly worthy of it. Sword Master. My title of Sword Master was promoted after I became the Great Elder of the Hunyuan Sword Sect. But in the end, I did not fulfill the responsibility of the Great Elder of the Hunyuan Sword Sect to protect the safety of the disciples of the Hunyuan Sword Sect. Tsing Hui did not intend to continue the small talk. I'll take a look at Elder Changhong and the others. I'm relieved that they are fine. In order to prevent Master Tsang Zhen, Master Firmament, and Master Candle Illumination from being in danger, I'll contact them right away. I also have a small world with good defensive power. After I bring them into that small world, we'll deal with these invaders. The Divine Wilderness Great World is our macro world, a place where we can rest and build up strength. No one can touch it. These invaders dare to rape and plunder in our Divine Wilderness Great World and commit all kinds of crimes, so they have to pay for what they have done. Also, the Jade Capital Great World and the Northernmost Great World have destroyed our Hunyuan Sword Sect. How can I let them off so easily? Tsing Hui's expression was fierce. When he finished speaking, his eyes were already full of killing intent. Chapter 850. Tsing Hui, there are currently 19 Supreme Masters of the Chaotic Realm in the Divine Wilderness world. Even if we exclude the 4 Supreme Elders of the Void Sword Pavilion, there are still 15 of them. Although you have become a Supreme Master, you should have just broken through, right? If you want to deal with 15 Supreme Masters alone, I'm afraid. Tsing Hui was silent for a moment and said, although I don't have the decisive means to quickly kill a Supreme Master of the Chaotic Realm, that's because I haven't mastered a powerful killing move. Now, it's not difficult for me to injure them with my strength. Let's dispel their arrogance first, lest they do whatever they want in our Divine Wilderness world. As for other things, give me enough time, and I will find a way to solve them one by one. You mean, if you master a powerful killing move, you have the ability to kill a Supreme Master of the Chaotic Realm? Of course. Tsing Hui nodded. I may have a way to solve this problem for you. Bai Shuaing immediately pondered, Tsing Hui, can you join the Void Sword Pavilion? Join the Void Sword Pavilion? Why? There are 4 extremely powerful killing moves in the Void Sword Pavilion, but these 4 killing moves can only be practiced by the Sword Master himself or the cultivators of the Sword Master's lineage. I relied on the help of my master, the Liha Sword Master, to break through to the One Thought Realm in 100 years, but you became a Supreme Master of the Chaotic Realm in such a short time. Your talent is obviously far above mine. If I recommend you, you will definitely be able to become my master's disciple. At that time, he will teach you this killing move, and you will be justified. The Void Sword Pavilion has a powerful killing move. Tsing Hui frowned. How powerful are those killer moves? In fact, we don't have many dominators in the Void Sword Pavilion. The main reason why we can be famous in many macro worlds and become a first-class force second only to those with great divines is because of these 4 supreme swordsmanship. It is said that these 4 supreme swordsmanship were developed and refined by the founder of the Void Sword Pavilion when the Master of Chaos occupied the chaotic divine realm more than 100,000 years ago. In the end, the Great Master of Chaos personally collected the 4 broken great ways of this world and refined them. Once these swordsmanship are fully cultivated, even if one is in the Dominator realm, he will be able to burst out the power of Tao destruction and have the level to hurt great divines. If someone can refine all 4 supreme swordsmanship and merge them into one, it is said that he will have the invincible power to fight against great divines. Tao obliteration power. Tsing Hui's heart trembled. The Tao obliteration power was just to cut off the Great Ways. However, the Great Ways were invisible and traceless. Even if one could temporarily cut off the Great Ways, the other party could still reconnect it. This ability was at best a threat to Chaotic Realm Supremes who were extremely dependent on the power of the Great Ways. But the Tao obliteration power was different. The Tao obliteration power was to directly eliminate and erase the power of the Great Ways and make it return to nothingness. Not to mention Chaotic Realm Supremes, even great divines who had transformed their bodies into Great Ways could be hurt. If this swordsmanship was used to deal with Chaotic Realm Supremes, it could even directly destroy the Great Ways possessed by Chaotic Realm Supremes, thereby reducing them from the Chaotic Realm to the realm of one thought. This ability was far beyond the imagination of Chaotic Realm Supremes who held Great Ways divine weapons. There is such a swordsmanship in the Void Sword Pavilion. Although Tsinghui did not want to join a sect and be bound, he had too many secrets. Once the other party used the sect's righteousness to suppress him and force him to hand over his secrets, he might end up becoming enemies. But now, the Divine Wilderness Great World was in danger. If he wanted to solve the current predicament the Divine Wilderness Great World was facing, the best way was to show his powerful battle strength that could kill Chaotic Realm Supremes. With this threat of life and death, he could make those unscrupulous Chaotic Realm Supremes feel fear and have no choice but to withdraw from the Divine Wilderness Great World. As for after they withdrew from the Divine Wilderness Great World, Tsinghui only needed to find a way to cut off the passage between the Divine Wilderness Great World and the True Sun Great World. Even if those sovereign-level existences wanted to rush from the True Sun Great World to the Divine Wilderness Great World, they would still have to spend hundreds of years or even hundreds of years. With that time as a buffer, whether he chose to withdraw from the Divine Wilderness Great World or go into seclusion to strengthen his battle strength to deal with more serious threats, he would have enough time to continue to consider. I can join the Void Sword Pavilion, but according to the method you said, those supreme swordsmanship are often mastered by the sovereign-level sword masters and their lineage's direct disciples. The True Sun Great World has already destroyed the World Transmission Array in a violent way. Unless the cultivators who have been to the True Sun Great World have a spatial divine weapon to travel between the two worlds, it will take decades or even hundreds of years to fly to the True Sun Great World and then be transmitted from the True Sun Great World to the Divine Wilderness Great World. This process will take at least decades. This is not in line with my plan. You don't need decades. Bai Shuaing looked at Tsinghui and seemed to have made a decision. I believe that your talent is definitely above mine. Since my master, the Liha Sword Master, has accepted me as his disciple and taught me with all his heart, it will not be difficult for you to become his disciple. I can pass on the exalted immortal slashing path sword art to you now. At the same time, I will also send a message to my master to report your situation and ask him to accept you as his disciple. Will this affect you in any way? Tsinghui frowned. It won't affect you too much. Bai Shuaing shook her head. After pausing for a while, she added, as long as you try to kill those Chaotic Realm sovereigns who should be killed, it'll be fine. Once they die, even if the news spreads, the Void Sword Pavilion won't punish me, the direct disciple of the Sword Master, for this matter. When Tsinghui heard Bai Shuaing's words, he knew that this matter would be quite troublesome. However, there was nothing he could do at the moment. If he wanted to solve the problem that the Divine Wilderness Great World was currently facing, he had to have the strength to kill Chaotic Realm sovereigns. Only by killing 3 to 5 Chaotic Realm sovereigns and making them afraid would they withdraw from the Divine Wilderness Great World and not dare to stir up trouble in the Divine Wilderness Great World anymore. Only then would he have 100 years to recuperate before the ruler arrived. To do this, he had to rely on the supreme sword technique of the Void Sword Pavilion in Bai Shuaing's hands. I will think of a way to modify the Celestial Slashing Path sword technique as much as possible to prevent others from seeing its true form. Bai Shuaing shook her head. The Celestial Slashing Path sword technique is not the sword of sun glory that we cultivated before. The profoundness contained in this sword technique is far beyond our imagination. When I obtained this sword technique, let alone modifying it, even cultivating it has only reached the small success level. It's still too early for me to reach the large success level, let alone complete it. I know you're worried that this sword technique will bring me trouble if it is exposed, but if you cultivate this sword technique to the point where it is unrecognizable and its power is greatly reduced because of this, what's the point of me taking the risk? Qing Su, just focus on cultivating. At the end of the day, this is an internal matter of our Void Sword Pavilion. As long as the two of us display enough battle prowess and talent, and with my master, the Liha Sword Master's guarantee, we might not be pursued too severely in the end. Passing on the supreme sword technique of the sect to outsiders, this was a serious crime. If the people of the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect were to pass on the Black Hole Scripture, even a part of it, they would face great trouble. This could be seen from Bei Chongguang's fear of this matter, as well as the struggle of the Jin Wu religion's Lai Wuyang to pass on the supreme secret technique of the sect to outsiders. However, at this moment, he really needed this sword art to solve the current crisis that the divine wilderness great world was facing. Other than planning to obtain this sword art and change its appearance, he had no better idea. There's no time to lose. Let's go see the people of the Rainbow Sword Sect first, and then I'll pass on this sword technique to you. You can stay in the mysterious void world for a period of time. If there's anything you don't understand during this period, you can ask me. Okay. Xing Hui agreed. While chatting, the two arrived at the mountain peak where the Rainbow Sword Master, the Pengguang Sword Master, the Soothing Sword Saint and the others lived. Of course, in the Void Sword Pavilion, the Supreme Masters in the Chaotic Realm were called Sword Masters, and the Dominators who had cultivated the mixed Yuan Holy Body were called Sword Masters. If Sword Master Long Rainbow and Sword Master Pengguang, who were only in the profound Void Realm, called themselves Sword Masters, they would undoubtedly be laughed at. Now everyone called them by their names. When Qing Su and Bai Shuaing arrived at the mountain, they just happened to see a handsome man in white robes gathered together with Chanhong, Pengguang, Fuyin, and so on. He was explaining the wonders of the way of the sword to them. The original sword masters and sword saints of the Rainbow Sword Sect were all mesmerized by his words. They were completely engrossed in his words. Many of them looked at the white-robed man with respect and even admiration. Junior sister Shuaing is here. The white-robed man, who was talking about the mysteries of the sword, seemed to sense something. He paused his explanation for a moment, turned his head, and nodded at Bai Shuaing, who was flying over. Even when he saw Xing Hui standing beside Bai Shuaing, he still nodded with self-restraint. He was filled with a gentle and elegant aura like a spring breeze. Junior sister Shuaing, may I know who this is? This is Xing Hui, a great elder of our Hunyuan Heavenly Sect. He's also a good friend of mine. After Bai Shuaing finished speaking, she turned to Xing Hui and introduced him. This is senior brother Luan Yu, who joined the Liha Sword Master's master at the same time as me. He's also one of the most outstanding geniuses of the younger generation of our Void Sword Pavilion. He can't be called a genius. Every disciple of the Void Sword Pavilion knows that junior sister Shuaing is the #1 genius of this generation. According to junior sister Shuaing's current cultivation, I'm afraid that in less than 1,000 years, you'll have a chance to reach the chaotic realm. If you settle down for another 10,000 years, you'll reach the great completion stage of the exalted immortal slashing path sword art. It won't be difficult for you to become the chief disciple of the Void Sword Pavilion. Luan Yu smiled as he spoke, making people feel very comfortable. Xing Hui's gaze fell on the man named Luan Yu. This man also had a cultivation base at the One Thought realm. Moreover, his world was more stable than Bai Shuaing's, and the undulations he emitted were also more powerful. However, in terms of sharpness, fierceness, and aggressiveness, his world was far inferior to Bai Shuaing's world. Xing Hui estimated that if the two of them had both cultivated the exalted immortal slashing path sword art, Bai Shuaing would have already reached the small completion stage of the sword art, while he would at most be at the entry level or at the threshold level. Chapter 851. Great Elder Xing Hui. You're finally back. Alas, there's no point in coming back. The current situation of our divine wilderness is really, Sword Master Long Rainbow, Sword Master Pengguang, Sword Saint Chaoyin, and the others looked at Xing Hui, who had returned with Bai Shuaing, with complicated expressions. Even Bai Shuaing, an expert who could be considered a peak great figure in their hearts who had achieved world creation with a thought, could only barely protect a few dozen of them. Qing Su. Even if he came back, what use could he be? After all, before he left, his cultivation was only at the shattering vacuum realm. Even if he, like Bai Shuaing, was taken in as a disciple by a dominator who had cultivated the Origin's sacred body, at best, he was only at the realm of the shattering vacuum realm. It was useless. Xing Hui's gaze swept over Sword Master Long Rainbow and the others. He could feel the complicated feelings of these people. He sighed. Now that the divine wilderness great world is in chaos, what we can do now is to protect our own safety and solve the problem step by step. Solve the problem? Luan Yu smiled and said, this is nothing. Although the people of the True Sun Great World destroyed the transmission formation to the outside world, the Liha Sword Master and the Tsang Tribulation Sword Master of our Void Sword Pavilion are flying towards the True Sun Great World at the fastest speed. They have all kinds of flying divine tools in their hands and will arrive in less than 80 years. When the two sword masters of our Void Sword Pavilion arrive, the True Sun Great World, the Jade Capital Great World, the Northern Underworld Great World, the Taihua Great World, the Illusion Great World, and the other great worlds will be easily suppressed and defeated by us. At that time, with the protection of our Void Sword Pavilion, the Divine Wilderness Great World will surely welcome an unprecedented opportunity to flourish. It will be easy for all of you to break through to the shattering vacuum realm in a short period of time and even cultivate the divine true body and enjoy a lifespan of tens of thousands of years. Over the years, Long Rainbow, Pengguang, Chaoyin, and the others had already learned about the strength of the Void Sword Pavilion from Luan Yu and Bai Shuaing. They believed Luan Yu's words without a doubt, especially the members of the Rainbow Sword sect who had been rescued by the Void Sword Pavilion. They all said with anticipation, I really hope that the two sword masters of the Void Sword Pavilion can come quickly and end the current chaotic situation of our divine wilderness great world. Yes, the other macro worlds are wantonly destroying our divine wilderness great world, making our divine wilderness great world, which has yet to recover, even more broken. Only the Void Sword Pavilion has not offended our divine wilderness great world. It seems that only by following the Void Sword Pavilion can our divine wilderness great world have a way out. Sigh. I really hope that these decades will pass as soon as possible. When Bai Shuaing heard the words of the disciples of the Rainbow Sword sect, she immediately turned to Xing Hui apologetically. The mental pressure they have been facing during this period of time is too great. 100 years ago, the strongest experts of our divine wilderness great world were only a few cultivators of the profound void realm. But the enemies now are either top experts of the One Thought realm or supreme powerhouses of the chaotic realm. This is far beyond the limits of what they can understand. If it weren't for the protection of the Void Sword Pavilion, they wouldn't be able to protect their lives even if they were to go to the ends of the earth. This is why they are so dependent on the Void Sword Pavilion, I know. Xing Hui didn't wait for Bai Shuaing to finish speaking and already responded, I really have to thank the Void Sword Pavilion for their help. Otherwise, there would be nothing left of our Hunyuan Sword sect. The Hunyuan Sword sect, when Sword Master Long Rainbow, Sword Master Pengguang, and the others heard Xing Hui mention the name of this sect, their expressions immediately dimmed. Grand Elder Xing Hui, it's not that we don't want to protect the Hunyuan Sword sect and continue the legacy of the Hunyuan Sword sect, but the enemy is too strong. So strong that it's not something we can fight against right now. I understand, so I don't blame you, Xing Hui said. I remember now. This Xing Hui is the Grand Elder of the Hunyuan Sword sect. Luan Yu suddenly asked as he looked at Xing Hui, who was conversing with Bai Shuaing and seemed to have a good relationship with her. Yes. Bai Shuaing nodded. The son of chaos who has the transformation technique and is suspected to have mastered the dimensional lock. The one whose chaotic realm is over level 60. Junior sister Shuaing. Did you inform the two supremes of his arrival? Luan Yu's expression gradually became serious. Bai Shuaing suddenly thought of something at this time. Back then, she had protected Sword Master Long Rainbow and the others because she had a close relationship with them. However, because Master Firmament, Master Tsang Zhen, Master Zhu Xiao, and even the fallen true god of suffering and the one true god weren't related to the Hunyuan Sword sect, they weren't within the scope of protection she had requested from the Void Sword Pavilion. After all, the Void Sword Pavilion's ability was limited and couldn't defend everyone for the Hunyuan Sword sect. Since Master Firmament, Master Tsang Zhen, and Master Zhu Xiao couldn't protect them, then Xing Hui, who was also not a member of the Hunyuan Sword sect. Xing Hui is the fourth sword master of the Hunyuan Sword sect. Bai Shuaing said with some displeasure. I learned from the elders of the Hunyuan Sword sect that Xing Hui had only joined the Hunyuan Sword sect for an extremely short period of time. Although he has the title of fourth sword master, but the relationship between you two shouldn't be as deep as imagined. You'd better inform the Supremes of this news first. Although you are a member of the Divine Wilderness Great World and an elder of the Hunyuan Sword sect, your more important identity is now a true disciple of the Void Sword Pavilion. Everything you do should be in the interest of the Void Sword Pavilion first. After Luan Yu finished speaking, he took out a communication jade talisman. Bai Shuaing looked at Luan Yu. With her intelligence, she immediately understood the real purpose of Luan Yu's actions. She immediately said with a cold expression, I have already explained this matter to Elder Floating Light. Why, Senior Brother Luan Yu, are you planning to inform Elder Ichen and Elder Lan Xian about this? Or, if you have any opinions about Master, why don't you ask the elders of Master's side first, but report to the elders of the Tsangzhen Sword Master's side first? If this is the case, I will report this matter to Master at that time. When Luan Yu heard this, the movements of his hands suddenly froze. Although he also had a cultivation base of one thought realm, and his world had already begun to expand, in terms of weight in the mind of the Lihe Sword Master, he was far from being comparable to Bai Shuaing's. Xing Hui's identity as the 60th level Son of Chaos had been discussed in the Void Sword Pavilion for a period of time. He originally wanted to quickly report this news and receive a reward from the higher-ups, but now that he saw Bai Shuaing's reaction was so great, he was in a difficult position for a moment. If he really offended Bai Shuaing for this merit, in the long run, it might not be a good thing. Just as Luan Yu's mind was quickly thinking about the gains and losses of this matter, more than a dozen figures quickly came from the end of the sky. Not long after, they had already appeared on this mountain peak. The two people in the lead were Elder Ichen and Elder Lan Xian, who belonged to the Tsangzhen Sword Master's side. Seeing these more than a dozen elders and deacons who obviously belonged to the Tsangzhen Sword Master's side, Bai Shuaing's expression froze slightly, but she still politely greeted them, greetings to the two elders. Oh. Bai Shuaing is here as well. That's perfect. Elder Ichen chuckled and said, not long ago, I received detailed information from other sources and learned the exact primal chaos grade of the people you've taken in. Their true realms are much higher than what you said, and the number of vessel of Tao they possess is also much higher than what you said. If I'm not mistaken, the vessel of Tao they possess is definitely no less than 1,000. Am I right? 1,000? Heavens! 1,000 vessel of Tao. That's enough to buy a source of Tao. Our cultivations are currently at the peak of world creation with a thought, so if we can obtain a source of Tao, our chances of breaking through to the Primal Chaos Supreme stage will increase to 90%. These people are under our protection, but instead of obediently handing over the vessel of Tao they possess, they're actually occupying a 1,000-year-old vessel of Tao. How preposterous! The world creation with a thought cultivators who had come with Grand Elder Ichen and Elder Lan Xian were instantly displeased. Grand Elders, where did you learn of this? When my elders were under the protection of the Void Sword Pavilion, they had already contributed all the vessel of Tao they possessed to the Void Sword Pavilion. This is also the reason why the Void Sword Pavilion agreed to protect their safety. The two Grand Elders were also present at that time, weren't you? What, do you want to go back on your word now? If this matter were to spread, Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by other great sects? Bai Shuaing said. They did turn in more than 600 years old objects of the way to seek the protection of our void sword pavilion, but don't forget that we asked for all the objects of the way they had, and the objects of more than 600 years old were obviously not all that they had. They should be the ones who violated the agreement first, Yi Futian said. Elder Ichen said. Elder Lan Xian on the side was even more displeased. Bai Shuaing, don't forget your identity. You were able to cultivate the divine true body from the void-shattering realm to the divine true body in just 100 years, and then condense a small world to become a realm of thought almighty. It's all because of the cultivation of the void sword pavilion. If it weren't for the void sword pavilion, you would probably be like the other cultivators of the divine wilderness great world, reduced to a fish on the chopping block. Now that the Void Sword Pavilion has given you a future and preferential treatment, you should be grateful and try your best to get as many benefits for the Void Sword Pavilion as possible, instead of refuting the decisions of U.S. elders for the sake of the lives of these ordinary people. That's right. Elder Ichen nodded, and at the same time, turned his gaze to the Sword Masters and Sword Saints of the White Rainbow Sword Sect. Well, hand over all the vessel of Tao you have, and then we'll allow you to continue to live in the small world of the Void Sword Pavilion. If you dare to hide anything, don't blame us for being ruthless. Faced with the threat of Elder Ichen, a chaotic realm supreme, the cultivators of the White Rainbow Sword Sect immediately panicked. They all hurriedly turned their eyes to Bai Shuaing. However, before Bai Shuaing could speak, Tsing Hui suddenly said, "You said that they have thousands of vessel of Tao on them. Where did this data come from? Aren't you afraid that someone is trying to sow discord, slander the reputation of the Void Sword Pavilion, and destroy the unity within the Void Sword Pavilion?" Elder Ichen glanced at Tsing Hui with some surprise. At first glance, he couldn't see through Tsing Hui's depth. He couldn't help but ask, "Who are you?" However, Lan Xian on the side snorted coldly and said, "Our data is naturally reliable. This data comes from a person called Qi Peng. He was a member of this small sect called the White Rainbow Sword Sect. How can the data he provided be false?" Chapter 852. Qi Peng. Hearing this name, Sword Master Long Rainbow, Sword Master Pengguang, and the others all look furious. If it weren't for Qi Peng's betrayal, how could the Rainbow Sword Sect, Sky Dome, and Sword Shadow be trapped by Chaos Holy Master? And now, he, who had escaped the destruction of the Way of the Sky, dared to come out and stir up trouble again. He was courting death. Where is Qi Peng? Sword Master Long Rainbow asked angrily. Elder Ichen glanced at Sword Master Long Rainbow coldly. A void transformation cultivator wasn't even qualified to talk to him. However, considering that this void transformation realm cultivator might have hundreds or even thousands of Taoist items, he still replied indifferently, "Qi Peng has now been included in our Void Sword Pavilion because of his valuable information. He has received treatment no less than that of a deacon. You don't have to think too much about it. What you need to do now is to open your personal space one by one and let us search carefully." Lan Xian said to Bai Shuaing with some dissatisfaction, "It's already a huge favor for us to protect them under the deterrence of so many primal chaos supremes. If it weren't for them, why would our Void Sword Pavilion be viewed as an enemy by the other organizations? So, the minimum requirement is for them to hand over their objects of way. In addition, they also have to hand over their chaotic realm. How could a void transformation cultivator occupy the 30th chaotic realm? That's ridiculous. Many of us in the Void Sword Pavilion can create a world with a thought, and even the elders and supreme elders in the chaotic supreme realm do not have such treatment. They're all my relatives. As elders, you're attacking my relatives. The rules of the Void Sword Pavilion won't allow it." Bai Shuaing said. When the time comes, we'll call upon the Council of Elders and let the Council of Elders vote. However, they have to hand over the Tao-carrying items on them. Otherwise, don't blame us for chasing them out to fend for themselves." Elder Ichen's eyes flashed coldly as he said this. Obviously, by fend for themselves, they didn't mean to let Sword Master Long Rainbow and the others die on their own. They would hide their identities and kill Sword Master Long Rainbow and the others. Would this offend Bai Shuaing? As a primal chaos realm supremacy, since when would he be afraid of a powerful existence who could create a world with a single thought? Even if she had the Liha Sword Master backing her up, they had the Tsang Calamity Sword Master backing them up. In fact, if they could really take all of these treasures for themselves, their chances of attaining the origin sacred body would definitely increase again. When faced with such a huge matter that would affect their future cultivation, they wouldn't even hesitate to offend the Liha Sword Master, let alone Bai Shuaing. Long Rainbow Sword Master's eyes flashed with a hint of grievance. The others also looked panicked, and their worry was mixed with fear. This was the sorrow of living under someone else's roof. Oh, you want to expel the people of my Hunyuan sword sect? Before they received your protection, they paid a total of 600 years worth of Dao items. You can expel them, but you have to return the 600 years worth of Dao items. At this moment, Xing Hui stepped forward and said coldly. Who are you? You didn't answer my question just now. Lan Xan asked. Just when Bai Shuaing was about to say something, Qing Su interrupted her. I am the great elder of the Hunyuan sword sect. At the same time, you can call me the founder of the Hunyuan sword sect. Oh. The grand elder of the Hunyuan sword sect. That Xing Hui who obtained an ancient inheritance and is suspected to have reached level 60 in the Chaos Realm? When Xing Hui reported his identity, Lan Xian and Yi Chen's eyes lit up. Level 60 in the Chaos Realm. This value was a huge temptation to any chaotic realm sovereign. Even if it was inherited by half, there would still be 30 levels of chaotic realm level 60. If it was sold, it could easily be sold for 2,000 Dao rhymes. This number was enough to make any chaotic realm expert fight to the death. However, before they could do anything, Xing Hui had already stepped forward and released the terrifying force field formed by compressing his divine true body to the extreme. It was as if a neutron star or a black hole had appeared out of thin air. Even though Xing Hui deliberately controlled his force field, which was similar to a neutron star or a black hole, to prevent it from affecting the outside world too much, it still caused a storm in an instant. The entire mysterious void world was filled with flowing light, and countless large and small formations were activated immediately as if they were facing a great enemy. In fact, it wasn't just the mysterious void world. The two Grand Elders, Yi Chen and Lan Xian, who were covered by Xing Hui's force field, were the first to feel the terrifying pressure from Xing Hui's body. Under the pressure of these two forces, the two had no choice but to reveal their own world energy immediately, causing a world shadow to appear behind them. But even so, the fierce aura and unique repulsive force contained within the pressure continued to attack their bodies, causing them to almost lose control of their strength and erupt with all their might. Supreme Master. Supreme Master of the Chaotic Realm, and a Supreme Master with a powerful inheritance. The two Grand Elders' faces suddenly changed. The dozen or so elders and deacons behind him also looked as if they were facing a great enemy. Well, since you plan to expel them, then I have no choice but to ask you for compensation. How many Taoist rhyme items did you give to the Void Sword Pavilion? Xing Hui said coldly, and the last sentence naturally turned to the Rainbow Sword Master. However, at this moment, the Rainbow Sword Master, the Pengguang Sword Master, and the Soothing Sword Saint were all a little stunned. They even muttered to themselves, the aura on Grand Elder Xing Hui's body, simply gives me a feeling as vast as the abyss and incredible. What did the two Grand Elders of the Void Sword Pavilion say just now? Supreme Master of the Chaotic Realm? Could it be? Grand Elder Xing Hui, he. Grand Elder Xing Hui broke through to the Chaotic Realm and became a Supreme Master. Is this true? On the side, Bai Shuaing looked at Xing Hui, whose aura made the two Grand Elders, Yi Chen and Lan Xian, feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Even though she had already heard the news, she still felt proud of Xing Hui's achievements. Who said that our divine wilderness great world is weak? In our divine wilderness great world, there are also supreme masters of the chaotic realm. At the same time, she also responded to the Rainbow Sword Master, we should know best how talented Xing Hui is. Although I am called a genius, it took me hundreds of years to cultivate to the divine realm. But Sword Master Xing Hui. How long did he take? 30 years? 40 years? Or 50 years? Now that more than 100 years have passed, I have already broken through to the realm of creating a world with a thought. It is completely reasonable that Sword Master Xing Hui broke through to the chaotic realm and became a supreme master. When the Rainbow Sword Master, the Pengguang Sword Master, and the Soothing Sword Saint heard by Shuaing's words, they were first stunned, and then, they actually felt that it made sense. Yes, even Bai Shuaing, who took hundreds of years to cultivate to the divine realm, reached the realm of creating a world with a thought. Then, Xing Hui, who only took a few decades to become the strongest person in the divine wilderness great world, now broke through to the chaotic realm and became a supreme master. It was normal, okay? Instead, their current reaction, was it a little fuss? Supreme Master, although the two great elders, Yi Chen and Lan Xian, were suppressed by the aura emitted by Xing Hui, considering their current position and the powerful background of the Void Sword Pavilion, the two quickly regained their confidence. Immediately, Elder Yi Chen said in a deep voice, "What, you, the great elder of the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect, want to provoke our Void Sword Pavilion? Don't think that you are so great just because you have a chaotic realm cultivation. In our Void Sword Pavilion, there are hundreds of chaotic realm cultivators with cultivation similar to yours. Although you are slightly stronger than us in cultivation, if you think that you can behave atrociously in our Void Sword Pavilion, you are very wrong. So what if there are hundreds of supreme masters in the Void Sword Pavilion? Since our Hunyuan Sword sect has invested more than 600 years of Dao items for you to protect our safety, then you should carry out the plan. Do you want to change your mind halfway and temporarily increase the price? Then our Hunyuan Sword sect has the right to ask for the return of the Dao items. Right, what right? Our Void Sword Pavilion has protected your Hunyuan Sword sect for 10 years. During this period, how many threats and persecutions have we suffered? What's wrong with taking 600 years of Dao items? In addition, during this period of time, in order to protect your Hunyuan Sword sect, many experts of our Void Sword Pavilion have died in battle, including the elders of the Boundary Realm with a thought. Isn't it reasonable to ask your Hunyuan Sword sect to compensate for 1,000 or 2,000 years of Dao items? You talk to me about rights? What qualifications do you have? Ha, you have protected my Hunyuan Sword sect for 10 years and received 600 years of Dao items. During this period, there were cultivators of the Boundary Realm with a thought who died in battle. This loss is transferred to our Hunyuan Sword sect, and you want us to compensate for 1,000 or 2,000 years of Dao items? I have never heard of this kind of charge even in the Three Realms battlefield. Do you want to know the specific purchasing power of 1,000 or 2,000 years of Dao items in the Three Realms battlefield? Let me tell you, 1,000 or 2,000 years of Dao items is more than enough to buy the life of a dominator who has cultivated the Hunyuan sacred body. Are you threatening our Void Sword Pavilion? A cold light flashed in Elder Yi Chen's eyes. Well, Elder Yi Chen, don't talk nonsense with him. If it were outside the Xuanqu world, we might be a little afraid of him. But in the small world that belongs to our Void Sword Pavilion, he can't be presumptuous. Directly activate the power of the Xuanqu world to capture him, and then find a way to force the chaos incantation from him. Lan Xian said sternly. Okay. Elder Yi Chen responded, and a stream of light in his hand went straight to the sky. He was about to mobilize the power of the Xuanqu world to suppress Xing Hui. But, when this stream of light shot into the void, intending to activate the power of the world formation, there was no reaction at all. Elder Yi Chen was stunned. He did not believe it and once again used a magic incantation to activate the power of the formation. However, his magic incantation seemed to be blocked by a force. It was fine to activate some 17 or 18 level formations, but it was impossible to activate 19 level formations or even more powerful formations. Very soon, Elder Yi Chen realized something. He immediately roared furiously at the sky, "Floating light, is this your doing, you old bastard?" Chapter 853. As Elder Ichen shouted, Bai Shuaing quickly put away the communication jade charm in her hand. It was naturally impossible for Elder Floating Light and Elder Flinging to confront Elder Ichen and Elder Lan Xin openly. After all, these two elders had helped the Void Sword Pavilion collect the profits of 600 years' worth of objects of Wei. Even if these objects of Wei came from people close to her, the Void Sword Pavilion belonged to the Void Sword Pavilion. If Elder Floating Light and Elder Flinging stood on the side of Bai Shuaing and Xing Hui because of this matter, it was equivalent to taking a wrong stand. But if it was just like now, using a reason to mobilize the power of the mysterious void world for their own use to interfere with Elder Ichen and Elder Lan Xian, it was a different matter. Qi Peng is a traitor of the Hunyuan Sword Sect. He has violated the interests of the Hunyuan Sword Sect more than once. Hand over Qi Peng and return the 600 years' worth of objects of Wei to the Hunyuan Sword Sect, and this matter will be over. Otherwise, I can't do anything to the Void Sword Pavilion, but I can easily deal with the two of you. Unless you hide in the mysterious void world for the rest of your lives and never go out. Xing Hui saw that he did not have to face the threat of the formation of the mysterious void world, and he was relieved. How dare you? How dare you? I'd like to see what you're capable of. Ichen and Lan Xian, two supreme masters of the chaotic realm, shouted angrily. They were one step ahead of Xing Hui and brazenly attacked. The two virtual shadows formed by the two worlds directly became solid and quickly enveloped Xing Hui. At the same time, the pressure of the whole world surged toward the enveloped Xing Hui. Even if this pressure came from the inside of the two supreme masters of the chaotic realm, it still caused the mysterious void world to shake. More formations lit up and surrounded the key places of the mysterious void world to protect them from being damaged by the fluctuations of the battle. In addition, there were also many divine true bodies of the Void Sword Pavilion, traversing realms, and even boundary realms with a thought cultivators who rose into the air and looked at the two world phantoms in shock. Clearly, they could not believe that someone dared to fight with the chaotic supremes of the Void Sword Pavilion in their Xuanqiu world. Everyone, I'm afraid you've seen that there are differences within the Void Sword Pavilion. Now that they know the specific number of objects of Wei on you, if they want to force you to hand them over, I can't stop them, and I have no right to stop them. Therefore, the best way is to follow Xing Hui and get his protection. And be protected by Xing Hui's protection. That is the only way you can be truly carefree. When the battle between Xing Hui and the two great elders of the chaotic realm broke out, Bai Shuaing flashed and appeared beside Sword Master Long Rainbow and the others. Among these people, Sword Master Long Rainbow and a few others were better off. The members who had been speaking well of the Void Sword Pavilion and secretly slandering Xing Hui all lowered their heads guiltily. They were full of regret for their words and actions. As expected, only by following Great Elder Xing Hui can we have our own way out. No matter what, the others can't be called reliable. Sword Master Long Rainbow sighed and turned to Bai Shuaing, the elders of the Void Sword Pavilion are all so untrustworthy. They go back on their words. Shuaing, you might as well not stay in the Void Sword Pavilion anymore. I am the personal disciple of Sword Master Lihe. I cultivate the immortal slashing sword technique. My status is not something that ordinary disciples can compare with. I've already been branded with the Void Sword Pavilion, so I can't easily leave. Otherwise, I'll definitely be hunted down by Sword Master Lihe. This is the price I have to pay for cultivating the supreme sword techniques of the Void Sword Pavilion. Bai Shuaing shook her head. After a while, she took out a treasure. This is a miniature world that Xing Hui secretly gave me earlier. Apart from the fact that it can't compare to the Xuanqiu world in size, it's far superior in all other aspects. I'll put you in it right now. Sword Master Long Rainbow nodded. After this, we'll contact Master Tianqiong and tell them that Xing Hui has returned. They must be in a very bad situation right now. This can be seen from how carefully they send messages to us through the Chaos Divine Palace. It would be for the best if you could contact them. In order to ensure that nothing goes wrong, they've modified all of their mental imprints and the methods they use to enter and exit their personal spaces. As a result, Qing Su is unable to contact them for a short period of time. Otherwise, he would have gathered Master Firmament and the others a long time ago. Sword Lord Long Rainbow sighed. Not only are they at a high level of primal chaos, but they also carry a lot of treasures with them. Countless paragons are looking for them, so we have no choice but to be very careful. It can't be helped. After that, she quickly turned her gaze to the two worlds that covered each other. She said worriedly, there are two supreme masters in the Chaos Realm in the Void Sword Pavilion. Can Great Elder Tsing Hui deal with them alone? Bai Shuaing watched the battle between the three of them. To be more precise, she could only see the two great elders, Lan Xian and Yi Chen. Qing Su had already been sucked into their worlds. I'm not sure either, but Qing Su has said that regular sovereigns aren't his opponent. It's just because he lacks a powerful killing move that makes it difficult for him to kill them. Even though Yi Chen and Lan Xian have been accumulating strength for quite some time after breaking through to the chaotic realm, they can't be considered as elites among the chaotic realm. Qing Su should be able to handle them. I hope there won't be any accidents. The Rainbow Sword Master said worriedly. However, she soon realized that her worries were unnecessary. Although they couldn't see the specific situation of the battle, Elder Yi Chen, who had trapped Tsing Hui in his small world, had a panicked look on his face. Damn it. What's going on? We've suppressed him with the power of our small world, but why can't we sense his specific location? Even in the face of our suppressive force, he actually turned a blind eye. What kind of escape technique is this? Oh no, he's trying to destroy my boundary artifact. Elder Lan Xian, have your world god stop him. Alright, I'll connect to your world now. Elder Lan Xian said. The two worlds instantly overlapped, almost forming a whole. However, the overlapping lasted for less than 10 breaths before the two worlds shook at the same time. Elder Lanxin's world only emitted layers of ripples, but Elder Yi Chen's world actually shrank by an extremely small amount, forcing Elder Yi Chen to yell in shock and anger. He activated the might of the Great Way. At that moment, the Great Way appeared. Countless spatial laws flowed in the void like rivers of space, clearly exposed to everyone. Damn it, he destroyed my boundary artifact. Elder Lan Xian, be careful. He's rushing into your world. Quick, expel him. I understand. Buzz buzz. Under the shocked gazes of everyone in the mystic void world, rings of power of the world continuously spread and exploded from Elder Lan Xian's world. In an instant, Tsing Hui's figure was expelled from the small world. However, he did not stop at all after being expelled. He became one with his sword, and like a meteor streaking through the void, he slammed into the barrier of Elder Lan Xian's small world at a terrifying speed. In an instant, the barrier of his small world seemed to have been hit by a terrifying celestial body that was no less dense than a white dwarf. Not only did visible ripples spread out from the surface of the barrier, forming a large crater, but the great Tao precepts inside were also directly smashed into pieces, collapsing one after another. After forcefully smashing through the barrier of Elder Lan Xian's small world, Tsing Hui did not stop at all. He rapidly appeared in front of Elder Lan Xian's boundary artifact. With a slash of his sword, the boundary artifact shattered. The moment the boundary artifact shattered, the balance of the entire world structure was broken. A vortex similar to a black hole rapidly appeared where the boundary artifact shattered. It madly swallowed all the matter in the outside world, and even the structure of the entire world became unstable and shook violently. When this scene fell into the eyes of the cultivators of the Void Sword Pavilion below the realm of world creation with a thought, it was fine. They could not feel the depth of it, but for the deacons and ordinary elders of the realm of world creation with a thought, their faces turned pale. When the boundary artifact of a chaotic realm supreme was destroyed, they could still hold on for a while by relying on the power of the great Tao laws they were compatible with. However, for a powerful figure in the boundary realm with a thought, once the boundary artifact was destroyed, the collapse of the world was almost foreseeable. For a powerful figure in the boundary realm with a thought, the small world was the foundation of their survival. The destruction of the small world meant the end of their lives. From the various means that Xinghui had used to destroy Elder Lan Xian, if Xinghui wanted to kill them, it would only be a matter of a sword. Even if they used all their strength and exhausted all their means, they would not be able to stop him at all. This is really terrifying. What kind of inheritance did Xinghui get? The body movement he used just now gave me the illusion that it was the power of the Great Way. It was as if he was a great divinity and was displaying all kinds of divine powers that only a great divinity could possess. Because of this, Elder Yichen and Elder Lanxin's methods were completely useless in front of him and were easily defeated. The only problem is that his strength is countless times weaker than the great way that a great divinity can operate. In the void of the Xuanqiu world, Elder Floating Light, who was controlling the formation of the Xuanqiu world, witnessed the whole process of the battle between Xinghui and the other two. For a moment, he could not help but feel awe-inspiring. It seems that Xinghui has also obtained an extremely great opportunity in these years. Either he found a cave residence of a great divine and obtained at least 2 great Dao divine weapons, one for attacking and the other for flying, or he became a disciple of a great divine and obtained the true inheritance of that great divine. The former is better, but if it's the latter, then it's frightening. A true disciple of a great divine was much more important than a chaotic realm supreme in the Void Sword Pavilion. If Xinghui really had the identity of a great divine's personal disciple, even if he eventually killed the 2 elders, Yichen and Lan Xian, the Void Sword Pavilion would not dare to pursue the matter too much. Especially when he was in the right at this moment. Chapter 854. While Elder Floating Light was shocked by the powerful means displayed by Xinghui, Lan Xian and Yichen were already frightened. Among them, Elder Lanxin, who had been targeted by Qing Su and unleashed the power of Dao Severing and was about to completely destroy his world, could not help but cry out, "Floating Light, are you just going to watch us fall into danger and not save us? If our Void Sword Pavilion loses 2 Chaotic Realm Supreme Masters, it will be extremely disadvantageous in the next action of seizing the Divine Wilderness Great World. When a Sword Master comes and realizes that we are not doing well in the Divine Wilderness Great World, you too will definitely not be able to escape the blame." Hearing Elder Lan Xian's shout, Elder Floating Light also felt that it should be about time. He couldn't really watch Xinghui destroy the 2 Supreme Elders, Yichen and Lan Xian. On the one hand, this would reduce the power of the Void Sword Pavilion, which was not conducive to the competition for the interests of the Divine Wilderness Great World between the Void Sword Pavilion and the experts of other macro worlds. On the other hand, after all, they were all members of the Void Sword Pavilion. If people knew that they caused him to watch 2 Supreme Elders of the sect die because of their internal strife, he would inevitably be heavily punished. When he thought of that, Elder Floating Light immediately appeared. He said loudly, "Please stay your hand, Green Ruin Sword Master." The matter of the Hunyuan Sword sect was due to the recklessness of the 2 sword venerables of our Void Sword Pavilion. I apologize to the Green Ruin Sword Master. After Xinghui destroyed the small worlds of the 2 Supreme Elders, Yichen and Lan Xian, he also chose to stop. After all, this was the mysterious void world of the Void Sword Pavilion. Once he really wanted to kill the 2 Supreme Elders, Elder Floating Light would certainly not be able to stand idly by. At that time, as long as the other party did not interfere with the power of the mysterious void world, it was enough to make him retreat with the power of the mysterious void world mobilized by Yichen and Lan Xian, the 2 Supreme Masters of the Chaotic Realm. As Xinghui stopped, the 2 Supreme Elders, Lan Xian and Yichen, looked gloomy. However, they understood that a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. One by one, they glanced at Xinghui and said coldly, "Good, very good. We will remember this good man." After he finished speaking, he didn't dare to give Xinghui any other reaction. His figure flashed, and disappeared without a trace. Xinghui was too lazy to chase after him. As for the so-called 600-year-old Tao item, before he had enough power to completely suppress the Void Sword Pavilion, it was impossible to get it back. Sword Venerable Green Ruins, that's just how the two of them are. They're greedy and insatiable. However, not everyone in our pavilion is like that, so please don't take it to heart, Sword Venerable Green Ruins. If there's time, our pavilion should communicate more with your Hunyuan sword sect. When Elder Floating Light saw that Lan Xian and Yichen were defeated, he was in a good mood. In addition, he guessed that Xing Hui might have the background of a powerful practitioner, so his words were rather polite. Elder Floating Light's words are reasonable. We should indeed communicate more. After Xing Hui finished speaking, he turned to Bai Shuaing. To be exact, he turned to the small world in her hand. Over the years, the Void Sword Pavilion has taken care of the members of our Hunyuan sword sect. Now that I, the Supreme Elder, have returned, it is naturally inappropriate to let them disturb the Void Sword Pavilion too much. I will take them away first. Sword Master Xing Hui, please go ahead. If you need anything in the future, just come to me directly. If we can help with some small things, our Void Sword Pavilion will naturally try our best to help. Thank you very much. After Xing Hui finished speaking, he also said to Bai Shuaing, thank you for giving us a ride. Bai Shuaing nodded and asked Elder Floating Light for instructions. Elder Floating Light naturally would not stop her. He watched Xing Hui leave the mysterious void world with a smile on his face. After Qing Su left, Elder Floating Light slightly restrained his smile. The divine wilderness world has really provoked all the bad guys. However, a rich world that produces 15,000 items of natural way a year. Even the great divine sense would be tempted. It's reasonable for such a situation to occur. I don't know how much profit our Void Sword Pavilion can take in such a big world. Outside the station of the Void Sword Pavilion, Bai Shuaing followed Xing Hui. She seemed a little powerless about what had just happened in the Void Sword Pavilion. Qing Su seemed to be able to tell that she was not in the mood. He could not help but laugh. What's there to be unhappy about? The Void Sword Pavilion is powerful, but we're not weak. Compared to the sovereigns and rulers of the Void Sword Pavilion and the other major worlds, we only lack time. If we have enough time, neither you nor I will pale in comparison to any of the sovereigns and rulers. Don't forget, you're the genius swordmaster Bai Heng. Bai Shuaing was amused by Xing Hui's words. What genius girl swordmaster Bai Heng? The title of swordmaster can only be owned by dominators who have cultivated the immemorial sacred body. If we still call ourselves swordmasters to the outside world, it will only make people laugh at us. And, even if I owe you the originator, it will take me at least thousands of years to cultivate to the level of my master Liha Sword Master. Thousands of years? Are you still not satisfied with this number? You should know that many practitioners of the divine true body realm are unable to condense a small world in their lifetime and advance to the realm of one thought realm. Among the top masters of the realm of one thought realm, how many of them can step into the chaotic realm? Not to mention the leap from the chaotic realm to the dominator realm. Which realm is not a one-plank bridge for thousands of soldiers and horses? If those old masters of the realm of one thought realm knew that you are distressed over the fact that it will take you thousands of years to become a sword master, they will definitely be furious. I need thousands of years to become a sword master, but you. I haven't seen you for 100 years, and you are already a sword sovereign. You are a sword sovereign in both name and in reality. Compared to you, I am no genius. As Bai Shuaing spoke, her expression quickly became serious. I will now pass on the immortal exterminating Dao slashing sword art to you. However, due to the matter with Grand Elder Yichen and Grand Elder Lan Xian, I'm afraid you won't be able to stay in the profound void world for long. I also won't be able to help you much. You can only rely on yourself to cultivate the immortal exterminating Dao slashing sword art. After all, any of the 4 Grand Elders can control the power of the profound void world's formations. If they take advantage of the fact that you are in the profound void world to control the formations and attack you, you will be in a very passive situation. I understand. It's enough to have your cultivation experience. That's true. It's not like you haven't surpassed your master before. Back then, I taught you the sword of the glorious sun, but in the end, you gave me several powerful sword techniques that were even more powerful than the sword of the glorious sun in return. Even now, the concepts behind these sword techniques are still very important to me. Bai Shuaing said. Xing Hui nodded. In the technological civilization of the Lord of Time's lineage, the 16th level would be able to use the power of neutron stars. However, if they wanted to completely use neutron stars to create battleships, they would need to reach the 18th level. As for using black holes to create weapons of war, that was something that only the 19th level could grasp. Xing Hui had taught Bai Shuaing the concepts of the glorious sun, solar burst, solar eclipse, and black Sunday. If she could truly comprehend all of them and cultivate them step by step, it would not be a problem for her to reach the chaotic realm. As for the origin saint body, that was not something that he could derive. After all, the reason why he could possess his own way was because of the fortune jade and his epiphany. Otherwise, he might not have been able to reach a level comparable to great masters. Use your heart to comprehend, Bai Shuaing said. In the next moment, she pointed a finger at Xing Hui's forehead. For a moment, the various mysteries of the celestial slashing path sword technique poured into his head and appeared clearly in his mind. As the supreme inheritance of the Void Sword Pavilion, the celestial slashing path sword technique was not recorded in words. It could only be passed on in a one-to-one manner. This method was also the greatest method to ensure that the sword technique would not be leaked. This sword technique, as Bai Shuaing passed on the sword technique to Xing Hui immediately sensed the extraordinariness of the sword technique. The chi of annihilation contained in the sword technique could be said to have pierced through the clouds. Even though he had not cultivated it yet, Xing Hui could sense the extremely shocking offensive and invasive nature of the sword technique. This was a sword technique that did not have any variations. It was an attack and killing technique that was developed to the extreme. In particular, when this sword technique was combined with the broken Great Tao of Slaughter from ancient times, its destructive power could be displayed incisively and vividly. No wonder. No wonder if this sword technique is cultivated to perfection, it can allow a ruler to threaten a powerful expert. This is just like the ultimate sword Tao. Once cultivated, a celestial phenomenon of heaven and earth can also tear apart the domain of a domain realm cultivator. No, this sword technique is much stronger than the ultimate sword Tao. Although there is a big difference between the celestial phenomenon of heaven and earth and the domain realm, there are still many examples in history of using the celestial phenomenon of heaven and earth to counterattack the domain realm. However, the gap between a ruler who has cultivated the origin sacred body and a powerful expert who has transformed his body into the Tao is almost immeasurable. Even the gap between the golden core realm and the transcendent realm may not be comparable to the gap between a ruler and a powerful expert. In this case, if this sword technique is cultivated to a level that can allow a ruler to threaten a powerful expert, its power can be imagined. Xing Hui was somewhat excited in his heart. More than that, he was looking forward to this sword technique. If he could cultivate this sword technique and rely on the characteristics of his own existence and non-existence to appear and disappear unpredictably and assassinate people, who below the ruler realm would be able to resist him. In fact, if he could cultivate this sword technique to perfection in the supremacy realm, he might even be able to contend against a ruler who had cultivated the origin saint body, such as Zhou Xian. Xing Hui, comprehend it well. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me through the Chaos Temple. My personal space in the Chaos Temple hasn't changed. Bai Shuaing said. I understand. There's no time to lose. I'll contact Venerable Master Zhu Zhao and Venerable Master Tianqiong while doing my best to cultivate this sword technique. I have to say that this sword technique of yours is of great help to me. It's good that it's useful. Bai Shuaing smiled faintly before she added, you have to be careful. Many people know that you're a level 60 primal chaos expert. This temptation isn't something that ordinary primal chaos realm supremes can resist. Once your location is exposed, it's very likely that they'll band together to deal with you. Xing couldn't help but chuckle when he heard this. If they band together right now, I'm still somewhat afraid of them. However, as my understanding of my own strength deepens and I cultivate this sword technique of yours, when the time comes, they won't even have the time to hide from me. How would they dare to appear in front of me? Is that so? Then I'll wait for the moment when you show off your might. Bai Shuaing's pretty face was filled with a smile. You'll see. Xing Hui said solemnly. Chapter 855. The Divine Wilderness Great World. Xing Hui's figure shuttled rapidly through the void. Back then, the distance of millions or tens of millions of kilometers was not worth mentioning to him now. With his current flying speed, even if he was inside the Divine Wilderness Great World, he could travel back and forth in a day without using spatial travel, not to mention using spatial travel and other techniques. In addition, through his understanding of the Great Tao, he could sense the battle fluctuations that were far beyond his imagination. It could be said that even if he were sitting in the center of the Tianhuang continent and two mighty figures at the boundary realm with a single thought were fighting in the Eastern Wilderness Great World, he would be able to sense it immediately. This realm had already reached the immortal and mortal level that was beyond human understanding. However, his destination this time was not the Eastern Wilderness Great World, but the Hidden Sword Continent. The Divine Wilderness Great World was very important, but it did not mean that the Earth world was not important. With his identity and position, it was already the best outcome for any cultivator of the immortal Tao civilization to not start a war when they saw him. If he encountered some who overreacted and directly ignited their immortal energy, it would not be strange for them to fight to the death with him. Under such circumstances, if he could ask the seven-star sword spirit of the Hidden Sword Continent to come forward and persuade the cultivators of the immortal Tao civilization, things would undoubtedly go much smoother. Unfortunately, when Qing Su truly arrived on the Hidden Sword Continent, basically no disciples of the Hidden Sword sect could be seen anywhere on the continent anymore. Their sect had been destroyed, and there was even a great expert who had reached boundary with a thought leading a group of saints' true bodies and pathfinder cultivators. They dug deep into the ground in search of any place on the continent that might have an item that could carry the way. As for the myriad sword peak that had existed since the Hidden Sword sect was born, its whereabouts were unknown. The seven-star sword spirit is equivalent to a primordial immortal, which is equivalent to a primordial immortal. However, compared to a true primordial immortal, it's no longer at its peak after countless years. When faced with the invasion of many great worlds, it'll most likely choose to temporarily avoid them. If it had fought with a primordial immortal, Bai Shuaing would have mentioned it to me. After all, it's a primordial immortal sword spirit. Xing Hui paused above the Hidden Sword sect for a moment, a look of regret on his face. Then, his gaze swept over the cultivators of the Hidden Sword sect who were at the One Thought realm, the Divine True Body, and the Traversing realm. The special characteristics that existed and did not exist on their bodies were directly transformed. For a moment, a huge and terrifying pressure suddenly enveloped the entire Hidden Sword Continent. It was like a black hole that devoured everything, emitting a force field that was purely targeted at the entire continent. It directly pressed down on the cultivators of the three great stages from the Divine True Body to the One Thought realm to the point that their bodies almost collapsed. From today onwards, this continent belongs to me. If any cultivator who is not from the Divine Wilderness Great World dares to stay on this continent, they will die. As the aura on Xing Hui's body erupted, his voice quickly spread throughout the entire Hidden Sword Continent. Buzz buzz. The moment Xing Hui manifested his aura, the mighty cultivator of the One Thought realm on this continent also erupted his own aura, manifesting the power of the world to resist Xing Hui's terrifying pressure that almost enveloped the entire continent. At the same time, he said with some difficulty, "Senior, we are from the Dragon God sect of the Jade Capital Great World. Our sect ancestor has already occupied this continent 8 years ago. Until now, with this continent as the center, a radius of 3 million kilometers belongs to our Dragon God sect. If you want to forcibly occupy the territory of our dragon god sect of the Jade Capital Great World, our sect ancestor, and even our entire Jade Capital Great World, will probably not agree to it, the Jade Capital Great World? You still don't agree? Tsing Hui's gaze turned and fell directly on the mighty cultivator of the One Thought Realm who had erupted with the power of the world to resist his chaotic realm aura. In the next moment, he stabbed out with his sword. A beam of sword chi shot out with unbelievable speed, easily piercing through the world barrier of the world boundary realm cultivator. The remaining force didn't decrease in the slightest as it slashed into the boundary artifact, instantly shattering it. The mighty cultivator of the One Thought Realm was slightly taken aback when the boundary object shattered. However, as the boundary object was destroyed and the black hole formed from it began to engulf and annihilate the matter of the entire small world, a look of horror immediately appeared on his face. No! Tsing Hui pressed down with his hand, and the terrifying force field that was like a black hole ruthlessly crushed the world of the mighty cultivator of the One Thought Realm, causing his world that was already rapidly collapsing to completely collapse. Even his cries of despair could not be heard as all matter was engulfed and stopped abruptly. If you don't agree, then die. Tsing Hui casually killed the mighty cultivator of the One Thought Realm, and his gaze swept across the remaining experts of the One Thought Realm and the Divine True Body Realm who were filled with shock. That whatever god dragon sect ancestor has something against me. Tell him to come find me directly. The surviving experts of the One Thought Realm and the Divine True Body Realm all had pale faces. They did not dare to stay on the Hidden Sword Continent any longer, and did not even dare to leave behind any harsh words. All of them quickly flew out of the Hidden Sword Continent. Just like how Tsing Hui could immediately sense the energy fluctuations of all the mighty cultivators of the One Thought Realm and above fighting on the entire continent, the Primal Chaos Realm Supremes of other worlds might not be as sensitive as him, but the nearby Primal Chaos Realm Supremes could sense it. Tsing Hui instantly felt at least 3 gazes shooting towards this continent at the same time. Among these 3 gazes, Tsing Hui could clearly sense the anger in one of them. However, other than anger, there was also a trace of fear. With the power that Tsing Hui had just displayed, even the Primal Chaos Realm Supremes would have to carefully consider whether a mere Hidden Sword Continent was worth making an enemy of such a powerful Primal Chaos Realm Supremes, let alone a peak expert of the One Thought Realm. After ordering all the cultivators of the Hidden Sword Continent who were not from the Divine Wilderness Great World to leave the Hidden Sword Continent, Tsing Hui did not check in detail whether the Divine True Body Realm and the One Thought Realm cultivators had truly left. Instead, he turned and continued flying in the direction of the Eastern Wasteland. Although the Eastern Wasteland was quite a distance away from the Hidden Sword Continent, to the current Tsing Hui, it would not take much time. However, just as Tsing Hui was about to reach the Eastern Wasteland, he sensed the aura of another Primal Chaos Realm supremacy on an island not far from this continent. When he sensed Tsing Hui's arrival, this Primal Chaos Realm supremacy immediately appeared, manifesting a world god with a diameter of over 10,000 meters. Sweeping out a majestic pressure, he blocked in front of Tsing Hui. How should I address you, supremacy? Why are you blocking my way? Tsing Hui asked. Seeing Tsing Hui's lazy attitude, the Primal Chaos Realm Supremacy's expression turned ugly, but he still said, I am Yi Huan, the Supreme Elder of the Dream God Palace of the Illusion Great World. The land within a radius of 15 million kilometers belongs to the Dream God Palace. If you have any business, we can assist you. If not, please return. Dream God Palace? Tsing Hui knew that there were a total of 3 factions in the Illusion Great World. One was the Dream God Palace, which was formed by 3 Primal Chaos Realm supremacies. Another was the Fantasy Moon Paradise, which had 2 supremacies. The last was the Feather Butterfly Palace, whose palace master was the #1 expert of the Illusion Great World, Supremacy Mengyu. These 3 factions restrained and attacked each other, and their relationship could not be considered close. However, due to the shocking benefits in the Divine Wilderness Great World, the 3 factions temporarily put aside their differences and were in an alliance. I can't be bothered with your 15 million kilometers of territory, but I want the Eastern Wasteland. Tsing Hui said directly. The eastern wasteland. When Yi Huan saw that Xing Hui wanted to snatch food from the tiger's mouth and occupy the territory that belonged to their illusion great world, his expression turned ugly. Sir, you want to take a continent from the Dream God Palace as soon as you open your mouth. Aren't you looking down on the Dream God Palace a little? Although the Dream God Palace is not a peak faction like the Void Sword Pavilion, we are not weak either. Right now, the three factions of our illusion great world are in an alliance because of the benefits of the divine wilderness great world. Sir, offending the Dream God Palace is equivalent to making the Fantasy Moon Paradise and the Feather Butterfly Palace your enemy. Please consider the consequences carefully. Do you want to see how long it will take for me to destroy your delimiting item and how long it will take for me to destroy your world? Xing Hui did not answer Yi Huan's question at all. Instead, he took out the Scarlet Abyss sword and said slowly. A trace of anger flashed in Yi Huan's eyes. I would really like to see the people of our illusion great world, whoosh. Before Yi Huan could finish his words, Xing Hui's figure moved. Inconceivably fast, thunderous attacks, and indomitable momentum made him seem like a stream of light, instantly colliding with the world god manifested by Yi Huan. Furious flames burned in the Yinhuan sovereign's eyes, but Qing Su's attack had already completely erupted on his body. Sword chi that could sever the power of Wei surged into the air, shattering his connection with the world of his main body in a single instance. Immediately, the world god shattered like a glass statue that had been hit by a bullet, scattering into countless transparent crystals that scattered in all directions. Any one of these transparent crystals contained pure energy. Not only did it have an immeasurable effect on Saint Realm cultivators comprehending the law of space, but it also had an immeasurable effect on condensing a divine true body in the future. If someone could collect all these transparent crystals and make good use of them, it would not be difficult to cultivate tens of thousands of divine true body cultivators. If you have the guts, then try condensing a second world god. After destroying the world god, Xing Hui continued onwards, gazing in the direction of the eastern wastelands. To no surprise, that was where Yi Huan's true body resided. However, as Xing Hui flew towards the eastern wastelands, Yi Huan fell silent. After a long while, his voice rang out once more, reaching Xing Hui's ears. Our illusion great world's three-sect alliance will not let this matter rest. After that, Sovereign Yi Huan's enormous world, which was like a shadow that covered half of the eastern wasteland, quickly swept away all the cultivators belonging to Dream God Palace. Then, he tore open the void, jumped through space, and fled. Let this matter rest. Xing Hui stared in the direction that Yi Huan had left in, as well as the gazes of the other sovereigns that were gradually withdrawn. He murmured inside, yeah, they won't let this matter rest. As he thought that, he had already arrived in the eastern wastelands. His eyes grew colder and colder as he looked at the vast territory that had been destroyed by the battle between the peak experts. However, just as he was about to begin searching for clues about Nalan Fei's group, he trembled slightly. He was pleasantly surprised. The reconstruction of the immortal ending Dao slashing sword technique has been completed so quickly. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.